I can't find Doctor Who anywhere. Anywhere at all.
Who are you looking for?
Doctor Who? Have you seen him?
It's time for the 200th time for Type 40 live, rounding off our 8th season officially on the live stream Doctor Who magazine show all across your view screen here in real time on Rumble, X, YouTube, and on Facebook too. It all happens in front of a live chat full of fellow friends, fans, and companions just like you. All of us united. If not in our affection for each and every incarnation of TV's most famous regenerating time traveller. Results always vary on all of that, don't they? Absolutely, we are united in our passion for the series itself, a decade's worth of legacy informing all 200 episodes of this show. It's time to extract one further helping, I think, of Type 40 live. Hello, I'm Dan Hadley, Birmingham's King of the Geeks. It's great to be back. Welcome back. I'm delighted to be here to introduce this landmark edition of the show. This show, yes, Type 40 live. We've been covering the whole of the Whoniverse completely raw and unfiltered for over 4.5 years now, breaking stories months ahead, sometimes under heavy fire, getting it in the neck now and again, but still having fun. Yes, having fun. And keeping it clean when we can. Generally speaking, when we can. Whenever that's not been possible, though, there's always been one person I've found that I can put the blame on for all of that. I think you know who I'm talking about. Has to be Charlotte Shields.
I was like, who are you going to pick sometimes with those intros? Hello, everybody.
Trigger finger.
I know. It feels odd to say 200. It really
does, doesn't it? As I say, they're all big numbers after a certain number, but 200 is a big old number.
Yeah, especially when you said 4.5 years as well. You just don't realise when you do something like that you enjoy and like you're with your friends. No. You just, that idea of years sort of goes to disappear, doesn't it?
Yeah. Although we've been sort of skirting around for the last 2 or 3 weeks since Christmas, kind of working out what we're going to do, when we're going to do it. I thought it was worth sort of extracting everybody for this one. We're in the extraction chamber, no less. I'm not sure. I think those are the toilets at the back. Yeah, I'd say that's.
or just like the fire exit or something.
Yeah, and I'd say that's probably where we'll find Simon Horton. If it's not the little boys' room, it probably is the little dog's room. And I know that he's been with Lenny. Simon?
Hello. Yeah, here is Lenny. Lenny's in the building. He's a bit unsettled tonight, is little Lenny. I don't know what's going on with him. So I think he's just excited, Charlotte. I think that's what it is. He's excited by the fact that we've been going 200 years. I just can't believe 200 years. And it's just... It feels like only 4.5.
Nobody comment in the chat about our ages then, please.
So here is little Lenny. He's here for the 200th as well. He wouldn't have missed it for the world.
No, and he's like his dad, like he always is.
Good to see he's on form. Yeah, and we have more people to bring on to, because this is even more empty than usual, isn't it? Very, very bland. I think we need a real life time traveller to sort of pep things up just a little bit, the way that only he can. Yes, he's looking at me as if to say, "Oh, Dan, really? Yes, really." Welcome and good morning to Matt Pot.
Good morning. Hello. Good afternoon. Good evening, and good night.
Hello, mate. You're looking rather sun-kissed, whilst we're freezing bloody cold here in the extraction chamber for show 200.
I'm looking a bit tanned. I was looking last night. I was like, "Gee, I am well tanned. I am." Yes. We're hitting nice warm days. Summer, so yeah.
Yeah, so keep rubbing it in. Yeah, so it's,
I just love it watching you with your beanie on and that, and I'm like,
yeah. Now I can't quite remember when it was that you first joined us, Matt. I think it was probably around show 30, 35, something like that.
Just after Tom Baker's 88th birthday.
Was it really?
Yeah.
He's got another birthday. We're going to talk about him in a moment or two as well. I mean, what do you make about this? I mean, I've just noticed a couple of power cables on the left and the right, which I don't think I ever noticed those on screen. I wonder what they got hooked up there. Or it could be just a light source, I suppose, but it could be it could be something to sort of keep a pot noodle sort of warmed up, couldn't it? I don't know.
Needs extension leads, that's for sure.
It does, doesn't it? Could be better, but it could be worse. Let's bring in some more voices and some more faces. Who else have we got? Yes, I'm happy to say that he has been to the very brink of disaster, only to find himself now at the end of the world, sort of. Really. But I'm happy to say that he's back and he's relatively fit and well. It's John Yulden back on the show.
Hey, how is everyone? All right?
Woohoo! Hello, John.
Hello, mate. We'll try not to tax your voice too much. We know you've really been through it since Christmas, but it's good to have you back. It's great to see you.
Yeah, almost regenerated, so not far off of it now. So I'm doing okay, thanks, everyone.
I'm liking the look of the T-shirt there, John. Look at that. That is
nice. Is that a Christmas gift?
Yeah, it's quite big. I think I nicked it off an old man when he was walking past, because
nonetheless, it's cool.
Too big for me, but it's great.
Cool. Very good.
Proper logo. Like proper logo.
Absolutely brilliant. And yes, and finally, last but not least, as they say, another OG Type 40 live panelist. Now, he's still several years away from retirement, believe it or not. But when he does qualify for his bus pass, it's bound to end up being a mega bus pass, as befits the mega geek Ian David T.S.
Live long and prosper.
That's the
do you know
show,
what?
mate. It's show 200.
Do you know what? You may joke about that, but I've just found out. I found out last week that in July I can claim my my old pensioners bus pass thingy.
Oh, stop it!
I can.
Okay.
I can.
That's around the country.
So basically, it's a pass that they give to people of a certain age, where you after 9:30 you can travel on anything: buses, tubes, trains. Right. So I'm looking forward to that.
9:30 in the morning or 9:30 in the evening?
No, 9:30 in the morning. From 9 till whenever.
He doesn't look it.
9, they're in bed asleep.
That's cool.
He doesn't look it though, does he? I still think he's lying about his age just to scam a bus.
I
think he's about 25.
Yeah.
I wish I was. My knees tell me that I am that age. So there you go. So, yeah.
I'm happy to say that we've been joined as well for this momentous occasion, this momentous show number 200 by people over there in the live chat across YouTube, Rumble, Facebook and X. Thank you, everybody there. We'll get to your comments in a moment and maybe some of your memories too. But we're in the chamber, as we've noted there. I can't quite remember where I've seen this before. It's from an actual Doctor Who episode, Ian. I thought it would be
can I guess? Isn't this Oh no, it's not. No. I'm withdrawing my suggestion immediately. I was going to say it's Doomsday, and it's not Doomsday at all.
No, it's not Doomsday.
You know that picture you have up of Peter Davison waiting to go to the toilet. Is this what it looks like inside?
It could be.
Is this the toilet?
It could be. I don't know. Yeah, let's know. Instagram and X at Type 40 Doctor Who. Yeah, I think we need to know. We definitely need to know all this stuff. As ever, we are going to open things up with the comings and the goings and announcements from the worlds of Doctor Who. It never has to be particularly monumental, as long as it's amusing, or at least it amuses us, as has been the case over 200 shows now. Does it feel like 200, Ian?
Yeah.
We've been going so long, he's even got his bus pass.
That's right. It's coming.
All I got was a free colonoscopy.
He just left school when we started. So, yeah.
Sorry, Matt, you had a free colonoscopy. Was that?
Yeah, they throw in a free poo test. It's really weird.
Who did it on this show?
That's our government for you.
Was it Charlotte? Was it Simon?
A live colonoscopy. They only do that kind of thing on daytime TV, don't they? You do
Not
get
anymore.
that sort of
Everybody
stuff.
gets them once you turn 50.
You never know. We could end up getting that desperate, but not in front of the General. He absolutely means business. So we haven't got too much time for too many of our shenanigans. I think he looks very serious, doesn't he? I don't think he's going to tolerate too much nonsense from us going forward.
So it's from that.
Yeah, because
so it was Hellbent then?
No.
Heaven Sent?
No, I'm sure it's Hellbent.
Is it Hellbent? I can never remember, Charlotte. I was getting mixed up.
No, Heaven Sent was when it was just Capaldi by himself.
This is where he becomes a woman.
Yeah.
Yes, this is when Capaldi shoots
When he
him in the
slags
face.
off men. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though, when you
God,
take
I'm a woman again.
Yeah, exactly.
When you take a closer look at the controls from the extraction chamber, though, they do look a bit cheap, don't they?
Yeah, but you can't see. They have it at the side, don't they? So you don't actually see it. So yeah, I guess. Yeah,
it's a bit IKEA. It is a bit IKEA. It has to be
just
said.
makes me laugh how it seems to be a Doctor Who like design staple. Just put a globe somewhere in the console, and it looks sci-fi. It looks futuristic.
What they've done is they've raided the bin. That's what they've done.
Yeah.
In the back of the BBC, they've raided the bin because that seems that's what they do, isn't it? So yeah.
The Mystic Meg console.
That's probably what it is, yeah.
I think they were actually. There was one stage early on where they actually were using IKEA stuff, wasn't there?
No, that is an IKEA ball. That is, and there's one inset into the console in the 2005 TARDIS as well. It was there for years and years and years.
Really? So that's from IKEA. I rather like it, actually.
I've got it. I've got one. It's in this room somewhere. I'll see if I can find it before the end of the show. No, I've definitely got one of these because they've got like little flex and things in them. They must have sold them by the bucket load. I've definitely got one. I'll see if I can find it later
mostly
on.
to the BBC production team in Cardiff.
Our production standards are far, far more dignified here on Type 40 Live. Yeah, so this is the 200th edition of the show. It was the sort of the lockdown project, the one-off lockdown project that sort of ran and ran and ran and ran. I've often said these things are a big deal to content creators. We're really conscious of this stuff as the weeks and the months and the years tick along. If not all of the time, then certainly part of the time. I suspect a lot of people out there barely notice. But we're either here or we're not here. Now we're again, and people indulge us for an evening, which we're incredibly grateful for, aren't we, Simon?
Indeed,
but it's not about us, is it? It's about the Doctors, the companions, and the monsters, and we just get here to talk about it. But I think it's fine to sort of slap one another on the back now and again, isn't it?
Yes, I think it'd be rude not to, quite frankly. But I mean, what we've got to remember is that we're slapping all our viewers on the back as well. You know, we owe it all to them, and most of them are always in the chat. So you know that's why we're here.
There's a real community around this show. I think that's more than evident because Matt, that's kind of how you found us, wasn't it? I think you too, John, and so we're really grateful for having met you and brought you in, and everybody who contributes comments in the live chat or comments after the fact or joins the Facebook group. I'm really mindful of that, and I think we'd all like you to know wherever and however you're watching. It's greatly appreciated. So yes, it is a celebration of us hitting this big number, but it's also the usual sort of pull to open on a cavalcade of the usual news, views, nostalgia and banter mix that we know that you all like as much as we do. The Doctors, that's that noble lineage of doctors, of course, and some memories from the past too. Yeah, remember that. There are people watching along on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X as well, however long they've been here, whether it's been the full 4.5 years or just for the last few minutes. I don't know. Let's go and find out what they've got to say about all of this nonsense so far, and if we've stirred any memories or just a few bowels.
Welcome to Type 40.
Thank you, shipmates, comrades, and all. Everybody watching out there on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X. And we've got lots of great greetings here. Thank you, everybody. Now, I know who was first already because he was in a little bit before we started, and he's very much part of the team as well. That's Crimpling Dub Blue, and of course it is. Oh, hey, shipmates, ahoy, CD, my friends. Happy 200 to you, mate. Good to have you there. And we've got Gary Akers in the live chat too as
Gary.
well.
Hey, Gary.
Team member too, Gary Akers, the retro doc himself. Happy Type 40 bicentennial. Using the long words again, Gary.
Who's the bicentennial?
Gordon.
He's still
Bennett.
inauguration hype. So that's probably what it is.
He'd be fantastic to have on your team on a countdown, wouldn't he? You'd be brilliant at all that. Yeah.
Is there a film called Bicentennial?
Yeah.
Bicentennial Man with Robin Williams.
Robin Williams.
Not Robbie Williams, but Robin Williams.
Robin, definitely Robin.
Both.
Yeah.
Get them both in. No,
as long as one's not a monkey, you're fine.
Yeah. Robot or monkey? Which one? 200 says Lee Smith. And we've got several comments like that. Thank you, everybody. Sadako24 is in as well with a similar message. We've got who else is here now? I've seen Matt the Wee King is there as well. The Wee Music King. I'm just going to call you Matt Wee in future. I think just have to shorten that down a little. There's one from you there too, John. Greetings, everybody. Michael Q's in as well. Adrian James says, "Evening, everyone. Evening to you too."
Hello,
Adrian. We need real Doctor Who, says Rebecca Gold. Well, who would I be to argue with?
You got it here. You got it here.
Rebecca Gold, all action girl. Can't wait to see Rebecca Gold too, Ian. Apparently, it's inching its way to conclusion. Yeah, T Dwarf Productions. That's our mate Tom. He's in and says,
hello, Tom.
Hi, everyone. A new year means new models to make. Oh, he's got his fingers ready, Simon, and all that fantastic.
He's already said in the chat he's making a Wirral and he's making a pink Cyberman for Valentine's Day.
I love that idea.
That's brilliant. We want to see the pink Cyberman, Tom.
Sounds fabulous.
We might use it for the series.
I've got a hello from Jack Thursby, still in his Santa hat there with Davros, and Rob Alexander offers greetings, panel and chat. Happy Thursday 1 and all. Happy 200th to Type 40. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you, Rob.
You've been around for quite a long time as well. So thank you for all your messages, all your interaction. Hey, out to the Queen, says Matthew Pounder. That'd be this Queen. Our Queen.
Our Queen.
I thought you were talking about Shooty there. Hell to the Queen. There you go.
To be fair, like the most fun I've had with that is probably when somebody heard my mum in the background one stream. I was like, "Oh, the Queen mum." I was like, "Yes, yes, it's me."
Not this Queen. No,
no, not that Queen.
He'll be along later. Z3PO is there in the live chat too. Good to see you, Z.
Oh, hello, Z. Brilliant. Hello, Z. I had a lovely coffee and catch up with Z just last week in real life, in real time, physically in the same room. So hello, Z.
Wait a sec. So how did you know it was him?
Look, there's only one person that's going to be walking around in like C3PO. Let's go, in a gold suit. Come on.
He's going to stand out. He's going to stand out. Lenny needs a spin-off. Demands Lee Smith. We'll see what we can do.
Yeah, Lenny definitely. Lenny's gone to his bed already. I have to say, he got bored. I'm sorry. 5 minutes into the 200 show, and he was bored. He's gone.
Everyone's a critic, aren't they? Stephen Braddock says to all at Type 40, many happy returns, reaching 200 Type 40 live shows. I've been watching all last year and enjoyed every minute. Best Who podcast ever. Oh, thank you. And lots of emojis.
Thank you. Can we quote that? Is that okay if we quote that, please? We'll take that.
Is it official now?
Put it on the poster, yeah.
I wouldn't argue with Stephen myself. It wouldn't be for me to say. But
it won't upset anyone.
No. How long in dog years has Type 40 Live been going? So, any experts out there, Simon, do you know this?
Couple of thousand. Definitely a couple of thousand. Wow. A couple of thousand.
Liven's Flame says, Lenny and company, the theme tune's a banger.
I've just realised as well, I've made a fatal error. It wasn't Z that I had a cup of tea with last week. It was somebody else who has also now started watching. Z was somebody I was just talking to on the phone randomly about, well, Lenny's insurance one day. You wouldn't believe, you wouldn't believe if I was to tell you this. I had a conversation with Z about Lenny's dog insurance a couple of weeks ago. Well, about a month ago. So there you go. We're out there, Dan. I tell you what, we are out there.
Lenny even has dog insurance. Is fantastic.
So, hello, Z, and thanks for your help on Lenny's insurance. That's all I can say.
The glamour of Type 40 Live, everybody. We've got a comment from Jack McCulloch who asks, how can you get on your show? Well, we're all convicted shoplifters.
Money, yeah. That's how we a lot.
Yeah.
What a strange question.
We're all in prison. You just have to...
Just doing a really long stretch.
And being in prison, that leads back to why Matt had a colonoscopy.
The more important question, Jack, is how do we get off the show?
I haven't had it. I'm not refusing.
We can't get out.
No one goes near me.
We're all stuck in these little boxes, Jack. Call the police.
The scoop.
What episode of Doctor Who was that one where they're all stuck in TV? Anybody?
Oh, there's been several, haven't there? Dot and Bubble was one.
Well, you're thinking of
the Bell of St. John.
Wasn't it? Bell of St. John. That's what I'm thinking of. The Bell of St. John.
Yeah. Good to have you with us, Jack. Yes. All joking apart, we're just taking the piss. It's what we do here at Type 40 Live. A Gallifrey and pot noodle, says Michael Key. Oh, that's the question about the extraction chamber when I was being a smart ass earlier on, isn't it? You know, best before the general turned up. We were talking about that, weren't we? Yes, it could be. Welcome back, John Yulden, says Stephen Braddock. So there's a few of those as well. So people are happy to see you back. Dom goes in too and says, hello all. We've got We've got a hi from Matrix Lord as well. We have also got wrong franchise, says Matthew Pounder. Wrong. Oh, that was when we were doing that.
Yeah, that was the Live Long and Prosper, which I still can't do.
Yeah, you can do it.
Yeah, but I have to start out of shot. That's the thing, Ian. And then I can't do it. I can't just do it. Oh, I can. Right.
You can look. There you go.
I did it. I did it.
I think Retro Doc wonders, Ian, have you been practicing for your "Hey Kids, Get Off My Lawn" rants and things like that? The fact you haven't got a lawn, I mean, you can get the lawn later, can't you? It doesn't really matter whether you've got a lawn or not.
Yeah, definitely. When you get to this age, you start your voice starts crumbling. And you start shouting at things. You start bumping into things for no reason. I don't know.
You start getting really grumpy.
Yeah. Doing that, I'll get you. Doing that,
waving at the kids as they go past on their bikes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
David Millins in the live chat too and says, "Evening all. Hi, David. I've got a Doctor Who T-shirt like John's. My mum's cat went for me when I wore it. So be careful, John. Could be the combination of colours sets them off."
Well,
the feline world.
Behind me, so we'll find out by the end of the show whether it's still intact or not. So,
a red rag to a ball. It sounds like. Yeah, very good. Woodhouse 122's in as well. Good to see you. Lord Thoth is here as well. Thank heaven for Lord Thoth, and happy 200 to you as well, Lord Thoth.
Hello, Lord Thoth.
You've been modding the entire time. Thank you so much for your patience and your support all of this time. Problem Being's into our fabulous mate Lee. Evening, you little lovely. I think that's an expletive.
That's affectionate from Lee. That's affectionate.
It is. I'll take that. Lee. It's good to see you. Happy 200 to you as well. Obviously, Audred AudioVisual composed all the music that you hear across Type 40 and Type 40 Live. So it's integral to the appeal of the show. The best theme tune in the whole of Doctor Who podcast. So thank you, Lee.
Is that him, Lee? He did that.
That's Lee.
Yeah. Who do you think it was?
Oh, I didn't know that.
You learn something new after 200 shows.
200 shows? I didn't even know that. There you go.
What? I don't know. I can follow that.
Multi-talented.
Thank you, for all the messages in the live chat so far. I mean, I don't know what some of them are even in reference to, but we will just leave that hanging there for now from Matthew Pounder and let your imagination do the rest of the work. I think.
Tester.
Apparently, this is a show all about Doctor Who. Believe it or not, Doctor Who, the show from the BBC, the Sci-Fi and Fantasy TV show. I know. Proper Doctor Who. I mean, we didn't do too badly over Christmas, did we? There was a fair amount of Doctor Who content, sort of. But and obviously it will return. We're promised. We're promised. But
good.
I have to say, Simon, I'm getting a little bit jealous of the fans of one other drama in particular on TV. Now, I don't watch this drama. I don't watch TV, come to think of it. But I don't know if you've ever seen the series Death in Paradise. It's been running for about 13 seasons now on BBC One. Hugely popular show, isn't it? So I don't know if you've probably noticed then, Charlotte, that they are now getting the sort of the sense of legacy and the fuss that we used to get, because they've just revealed their new leading man, haven't they? That's Don Gillette, the British actor. He's from Warsaw, actually, Simon. Don is.
No.
He's just been revealed as the new lead. I think he was in the Christmas special as well of Death in Paradise. He's got the Christmas Radio Times covers. He's got this. He's got that. He's got the other. The people love the show, and he is the fifth lead that they've had. Yeah, it's fifth.
Yeah,
these guys that have all gone before.
With Ben Miller, and then it went off the rails as far as I'm concerned.
Wow.
But I was thinking, if you look at this, he was the first one, wasn't he, Matt? He's the William Hartnell of Death in Paradise.
Yeah, he was, and he was only in it for a couple of seasons, unfortunately.
I did like the Chris Marshall version. I thought he was quite entertaining.
Am I the only one that hasn't even seen this then? Clearly.
I've never seen it. Simon, I've never seen it either, but my mother just adores it. She's seen every episode about 18 times, thanks to various catch-up channels and things like that. But I'm looking at these good, solid British character actors, the majority of whom have been in Doctor Who, and I'm thinking, Matt, we're getting the thin end of the wedge here. on Doctor Who lately, aren't we? Now they've got Don Gillette now, and Don's been in Doctor Who too. He was Lance. He was the bloke that he was going to marry Donna Noble, wasn't he? Way back in what episode was that? The Runaway Bride. That was
Runaway Bride, yeah, years ago. That was
years
ago.
There now, and he's been in EastEnders and 101 other things since, but he's really fallen on his feet with this. And I was thinking, well, how come Doctor Who has never looked at him? Because he's now like well into middle age and he's looking a bit craggy, looks a bit mean here. And I think I could so see Don as the Doctor, just cool enough.
Looks like Kojak.
He looks a bit. There is a kind of Kojak-y vibe, I suppose. He's given off. And you think, well, that's what the Death in Paradise people have sort of got, and we've got this guy. We've got this instead. I think something's going very, very wrong. Something's going very wrong indeed. So congratulations to Death in Paradise fans, I think, for getting the better deal. His hat is sort of Sylvester McCoy-esque. Charlotte, you say you watched this show?
Fishing.
Yeah, it's sort of because of the idea of having the lead swapped every couple of years. It has almost got a bit of a similar vibe in that regards to Who, because after so many times they're going to write the current guy out or kill them off or something's going to happen. And he's had one episode at Christmas, and actually what's interesting is he's quite different character-wise to all the other ones so far.
Okay.
Because this sort of, to put it shortly, the idea is they've all sort of been very well-mannered British people in like fish out of water, sort of in.
I like all that stuff.
In the sort of tropical, they can't stand the heat, so it's very British sort of sensibilities. But they've had that politeness a lot of the time that you expect of British sort of people in TV. And he's been written a bit sort of grumpy and a bit sort of short-tempered, so that's quite nice to see. Maybe they're doing something a bit different with the lead, like a nice shake-up. Oh yeah, like he was definitely a lot more tetchy than the other ones.
Thing is, has he burst into tears yet? That's the main question, though, isn't it?
No, he hasn't.
Or shown us his pecs. No.
Well,
In which case,
if they follow the Who trajectory, that means in a few seasons they'll have a detective walk down the boardwalk in a pair of pants as the new detective.
Well, the thing is, what was funny as well. A couple of years there was talk about doing a female, and then it was round the Jodie time, and then luckily they announced him, and it was like, oh yes, they've not done it.
So congratulations to the Death in Paradise fans. They're getting the decent lead actors, it seems, and some sense of legacy and a bit of, I think there's some sort of pride in this show.
Current BBC.
Yeah, you could be right. It's up to us in the fandom, as always, to do all the heavy lifting and to keep the real legacy of Doctor Who alive. It's what we do here at Type 40 Live particularly well. I'd like to say thanks to everybody in the live chat who's joined in so far. Lots more opportunities to get stuck in with your opinions too. Coming right up.
Hi guys, and welcome to Type 40.
It's cold out. It's cold out. What we need, I think, is the companionship of a four-legged friend there. Simon's got his. I think he's gone to his basket.
He has.
But I'm sure if anybody can sort of coax any animal out of their slumber, it'd probably be Tom Baker, wouldn't it? I can't count the amount of times, the number of times in the 4.5 years, 200 shows, where we have mused on, actually more like ranted about, the fact that no Doctor Who leading actor has received an honour in the Queen's or King's New Year's honours list or birthday honours or anything like that. But obviously the biggest outlier of them all was Tom Baker. But this year, as part of the King's New Year's honours, that has been addressed at long last. So Tom Baker has been awarded the Member of the Order of the British Empire, that's an MBE, in the New Year's honours list for 2025, all for his services to television. Tom, obviously best known as the Fourth Doctor from between 1974 and 1981, a still record-breaking run, and still for even the casuals, actually even the normies, he is the Doctor, isn't he, Ian? Doesn't matter how old he gets. He's still Doctor Who.
He is the Doctor that the whole world knows. Put it that way.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think if you mention Doctor Who to the public, the first thing that's going to spring into their mind is somebody in a long scarf and a floppy hat.
Yeah, that's
that's what they think of.
I think it's telling that, like, in the new run, whenever they sort of reference back to past Doctors in shorthand form, you always get, oh, and a long scarf.
Yes.
Like, it's always sort of there as part of his past, as whether that's like the wallet with the pictures, or like I said, verbally, that sort of acknowledgement, or like with Matt in the Almost People, when he did that moment when he was all the Doctors, and you heard Tom's voice, or you heard like Matt be a very good like become Tom and talk about jelly babies, like his sort of iconography has sort of stuck, I think, more than any other Doctor has.
The scarf has undoubtedly, if the One Show were to do a slot tomorrow on Doctor Who, they'd probably put one of the presenters in a long scarf, because the long stripy scarf just immediately says Doctor Who. It is shorthand for Doctor Who, that scarf is. It's iconic.
When I saw this news,
he's iconic.
When I saw this news break, Matt, it was a case of, it wasn't sort of joy so much as at last, it really is about time. Obviously,
I was a bit disappointed he didn't get the knighthood. I
was like, I
really want to say Sir. I really want to say Sir Tom Baker every time. I really do, because he just deserves it.
Got a good ring, hasn't it, Matt?
Yeah, it does. Now you just got to say Tom Baker MBE.
I think he appreciates now that he was the Doctor and everybody knows him as the Doctor, and that's
always shall be.
They'll always, I think because when he was the Doctor, I think he was going through a bad phase, with the drinking and stuff like that.
He was, and it's funny, Ian, because he went through a bad phase when he left Doctor Who as well. He, for a long time, he sort of kicked back against Doctor Who, not because he was ashamed of the association or anything, but because, look, let's be honest, he was an actor. He needed a career, and he needed to kick back from Doctor Who because back in those days, being in a long-running series like Doctor Who or any of the soaps was a bit of a kiss of death for your career. So he needed to do that because he'd been in the show for 7 years. He got to kick back against it and react against it. But there was, as a result, a feeling within fandom that he was trying to sort of distance himself from it, but it was purely because of his career. Well, now he's come completely full circle. Of course, he embraces it now. There is no worry in him now, obviously, about his career. He did go on to have not as successful a career as he would have liked, probably, but nonetheless, he had a career. And so he's able now to embrace
recently,
it.
Simon, we talked about the fact that he'd been playing this part for 50 years. So this is 2, maybe 3 generations of people that he's entertained and inspired in one way or another. Some people have gone into the creative arts and acting in particular because they've been inspired by Tom Baker. Sorry, Matt, what were we going to say?
No, I've just noticed, and I was going to ask Simon, I've noticed when he retired
tapes, and the first ones I think I've said before is I got Death to the Daleks and I got Robots of Death, and those 2 were just I burnt them out because I played them so much. But Tom,
too much dropout.
Yeah. As much as I loved Pertwee, Tom Baker is the definitive Doctor for me personally. And I mean, when you were talking a few minutes ago, Simon, about when he was on the show, I mean, he's on record now as saying, isn't he, that he actually slept on set because he was actually suffering from depression at the time.
Yeah.
And he didn't talk about it. And so he only felt comfortable in that set where he was effectively playing the Doctor. That was his happy place. So, I'm glad as years have gone on, he's kind of got himself to a place of happiness. But for me, I'll always appreciate how he portrayed this role. He's given me so much joy over the years.
Yeah, and likewise, John.
I think he appreciates it now. I mean, it's the same thing with keep it up, Ian. What? Sorry. What? Anyway, I was going to say, I think basically it happens to every star that in those days when they became a star on TV, they couldn't shake that role.
Yes,
because I think Tom wanted to do more movies. Do you know what I mean? After Doctor Who, but it just never happened for him. Remember in those days, right? When you're depressed, right? It's not like you've got the people around you now or places where to go when you're clinically depressed. Those days there was nothing, so you had to fight against it, didn't you? And Tom went through the barriers, didn't he, with everything. Yeah. But now I think he appreciates it that he is recognised for the Doctor, and it's a good one to be recognised, and that's the thing everybody remembers him for. So
I think the other thing, Ian, possibly is that back in those days, and this is kind of inconceivable now, because if this was to be happening now. If Tom Baker was just leaving Doctor Who now, as he was back then, he would have gone on to Hollywood, Ian, I think. He would have been an enormous star, because he was a huge star in the UK. But for some reason, back in those days, you did become typecasting was a problem. And so I think part of his depression possibly came from that, was the fact that he was so huge and well loved in this part, but he knew it couldn't last forever. And he was going to have to leave it at some point. At some point, you're going to have to jump off the boat and hope that you swim rather than sink. That's a really scary place to be in. And it's inconceivable to think that a star of his magnitude back in the late 70s would have been nervous about leaving a show because he thought he would sink into obscurity. And he definitely, didn't get the career that he deserved. That's for sure, that he would do today.
But that happened to all the stars. I mean, Sean Connery, when he was James Bond, he was desperate to find another career, and he did in the end, because he fought so much. But it's different, right? Because he had an international agent and a British agent. But I think Tom just had a British agent. And it was very hard for them to push forward.
But it is odd that for some reason, those days, you did become known for one role. Whereas now, once you become popular, everybody wants you. Yep. You just can't. You're having offers literally thrown at you. But for some reason, back in those days, if you were well known for one role, people didn't want to cast you. It's really strange that it's
now
changed.
They just see Doctor Who as a stepping stone
Mm.
today.
I think the thing is with Tom, though, like, he had such a mark as the Doctor. I think that was some of it. I think if he wouldn't, weirdly, if he would have been less popular as the Doctor, he probably would have had better chances afterwards with roles, because it was such, like, the nation saw him as the Doctor, and that's such a hard thing to shift. Whereas if he just did all right in the role, he probably would have just been able to go into something else easily. But when you've got him who's got such a unique voice, such a unique physicality in the role, such a unique sense of humor in the role, such of that, I've said before when I've chatted with my dad about Doctor Who, I was like, what was it about Tom? Because obviously I didn't live through that. And he sort of said, well, he was the one that sort of made it that you had to be a bit weird. You had to be a bit unique. You had to be a bit different. And that's what Tom sort of established, in a sense, almost with this role, that
it's true.
You have to be that have a bit of that
bit weird
somehow to sort of connect, I think, a little bit with this character, because the character's not an ordinary character. So you need that.
He still has a grip on people's imaginations here as well. I'm noticing in the live chat, we've got people suggesting roles that he could have played, John. Like I can imagine Tom in Krull. Or Legend, those big fantasy movies. And we've got another message here from Kess the Drone, who says he would have played a good Duke of Wellington. Is there anybody that Tom couldn't have played in a really interesting way? Probably not.
He could just put a twist on anything, couldn't he, and make it great. And again, when you talk about the US, I mean, I did like the fact that as he got older and you sort of late 90s into the 2000s, he started getting parts in US films more and more. And then, as he got a bit older still, I always loved it when he suddenly was doing the voice in Star Wars Rebels. You started watching it and you're like, oh, that's Tom. I'm going to be okay now. He's here. He's lifted it.
And it's fun.
I'm so disappointed he never took the Gandalf role.
So am I, actually. As much as I love Ian McKellen in that role, Matt, I agree with you. I think Tom would have been fascinating to watch in that.
That voice, though. The voice would have made it, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
We've got a comment here from Sadako in the live chat who says, when I met him in 2014, he did say that he feels in hindsight he should have left a season earlier, as he was more in sync with the show then. I can't agree with that.
I can agree insofar as I do think it's a fair point on Tom's part that he definitely was more in sync with the show in season 17 than he was in season 18. He does look like a stranger in his own show in season 18. But to be clear, season 18 for me is no lesser because of it. In fact, if anything, it's one of my favourite Tom seasons, because it kind of taps a little bit more even into what you were just saying, Charlotte. He's even more sort of weird and alien and inaccessible almost in distant, season 18.
Like and that's why I think in that last story of his, like we've all said this, that story's got a feeling of a funeral. It's got a feeling of an ending, and you can tell that in Tom's demeanour.
And in many ways, the whole season has in many ways, Charlotte. I always think it's a very haunting season with a very haunted Tom throughout.
Yeah, he looks, and I think this helps. He looks a bit haggard.
Yeah, he does. He's ill. Truth be told, he is ill.
It does help the part.
He'd come back from Australia doing a promotional tour in Australia after season 17, and he came back really poorly. To the extent where his hair lost its curl, they had to perm his hair, bless him, because he was that ill.
Yeah, so like that scene with when he's the cloister bell, like it looks like a man. That whole saying of when you hear the bells tolling, they're tolling for you. That it's just perfect.
The thing
There's a
I
lot
like
of
about
appetite
that,
for Tom Baker as Gandalf in the live chat here, and I'm just going to move on slightly.
Well, hold
There's
on.
a lot of people raving about the idea of him being Gandalf, just as you guys said a moment ago. And we've got somebody. I've got a comment here. Simon Ashley thinks Tom would have been good as James Bond. I can't see that myself, but Ian, doesn't that just prove how much this actor fires people's imagination?
Well, it's because of Doctor Who. People love him. That's the thing. He was great. But again, right, with that early days, and we can look back and call them early days of Doctor Who. Seriously. I suspect, I don't know this for sure, the actors that played the Doctor, they were allowed to do what they want to do.
Yeah, totally.
To a certain degree, right?
Yeah.
And they chose really well up to Tom Baker. And I think up to Peter Davison, actually, they chose really well.
Yeah, I would agree.
So
don't you dare attack McCoy.
Well, I'm not going to. But they were allowed to be what they wanted to be at the end of the day, weren't they?
Yes.
I mean, Tom was playing Tom at the end of that run, wasn't he? So
oh yeah, totally.
So yeah, it's great, isn't it?
Better late than never for Tom with the recognition in the New Year's honours list. I think as an MBE, maybe he would disagree. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't care. Who knows? I don't know. There were other Doctor Who luminaries mentioned in the New Year's honours list as well. I don't know if you saw any of these. First of all, there was Sarah Lancashire. She got a CBE for services to drama. A former star of Coronation Street and Where the Heart Is and Clocking Off. Lots of other shows. Like, really popular actress, isn't she? But we know her best for her turn in Partners in Crime all the way back in, when was this?
Yeah, she was quite the milk back then.
she was. You know what? Right. I remember when my family was into Coronation Street. She was in Coronation Street. She gave a great performance. You know,
she was great, wasn't she?
The season that she left, and I'm not surprised that she went beyond Coronation Street to the stuff that she's done, because she's a very accomplished actress. She really is, and a lot of people don't give her that credit. I know TV gives her the credit and stuff like that, but people I've spoken to, you know, it's like, that's Raquel from Coronation Street. She's all right. But I think if you look carefully at her performances and everything, she's pretty amazing, actually.
Yeah, I used to watch her in a series called Rose and Maloney. So that's how I knew her from.
When I read through her list of roles, Matt, there's so many detective shows. It's ridiculous. I've never even heard of that one.
She works with the villain from the Fires of Pompeii. The Roman guy. He's a well-known actor there too.
Oh, Phil Davis.
That's him. Yeah, that's her offsider, and it only went for like 3 years, but I really enjoyed it. Yeah. Really enjoyed it.
I worked with her very briefly, and I'm happy to say I did on Home Is Where the Heart Is. I think it was called one of the TV shows
Where the Heart Is. Yeah.
And I'm pleased to say she was with Pam Ferris was on that as well, and she was as lovely as you hope she is going to be.
Quite tall, isn't she?
Very tall, very statuesque and very commanding, but lovely person. I say, just as you'd hope.
Yeah, I met her once, and I was amazed how tall she was. So, but yeah, very nice woman.
Further Doctor Who related honours here. Ian Carmen Munro, OBE, got the Companion of Honour award here. This is something that was founded by George V in 1977 to recognise outstanding achievements in arts, sciences, medicine and public services. So she was already an OBE. She's got this extra award. She's 92 years of age now. Born in Ghana, originally moved to Britain in 51, something like that. She was originally a librarian and then tried out as an actress. We know her, of course, from her role in The Enemy of the World in 1967 there with Patrick Troughton. And it's quite an outfit that Carmen was wearing all the way back then. But she's one of these who, like, she was in Desmond's and various dramas and comedy shows and things like that. Just one of those faces, Ian. And it says here in the blurb that Carmen is a pioneering actress and advocate with a career that spans theatre, television and film, who has opened doors across Britain. She does a lot of work with young people, or at least was until recently, but she is still acting, believe it or not, at the age of 92.
Wow. And she looks stunning there, doesn't she? On the left-hand side, she just looks stunning.
She's Norman. Is it Norman Beatty? Is it Beatty? The Desmond's. She was his wife, wasn't she? In Desmond's, was she not?
I can't remember. I never really
she
watched
was.
it.
She played his wife. She played his wife in Desmond's, and she's a great actress. It's a shame she's not given more roles. But I'm surprised how old she is. She looks great for her age, doesn't she?
She certainly does.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Still acting, yeah, and you can see her now. Of course, her story was recovered. Now we've got The Enemy of the World to enjoy in full, haven't we? And get those legs. Yeah, fantastic. Congratulations.
Stephen Braddock says, was she in Love Thy Neighbour? Was she the wife in Love Thy
No,
Neighbour?
don't think so.
She wasn't.
No,
She wasn't.
okay.
She was in
Steve.
Desmond's, though. She was in Desmond's.
Okay.
Of course, his name is. Pretty sure. If I'm wrong, somebody in the chat.
Somebody will tell us.
Yeah.
The knighthood that Tom didn't get, went to Stephen Fry, 67-year-old actor. We recognised from just about everything: crime series, cozy Sunday night dramas, sitcoms, sketch shows. He's done everything.
He is the only actor that I have been in the movie theatre for. And there has been, no one knew that he was in the movie, and he showed up, and everybody in the audience groaned. They were like, "Oh,
what? Really? You mean the theatre? You mean
time I've been in the theatre, and people were like, "Oh no, not him." Yeah, he was in the Hobbit, and as soon as he showed, because we didn't know that he was in the Hobbit.
He was, yeah.
And I think it was Desolation of Smaug, and and there was the entire audience just groaned. They went, "Oh no, not him."
I can't remember.
Australia or the UK?
This was Australia that he
right.
The Doctor is a man.
I want to forget his scene.
So if people have forgotten, and I'd understand if you had, he was C in Spy 4 back in 2020. He was C. Yeah, for a few scenes. Yeah, a ghastly Jodie Whittaker story, which doesn't exactly narrow it down, does it? He got to get patronised by Jodie Whittaker there in Spy 4 Part 1. He'd been patronised by her before, to be fair, in one of those bloody awful Centurions films. So yeah, it's a bit of a bad run.
Simon, this is where we got that lovely line. I've had an upgrade.
Oh, stop it!
Thankfully, Stephen's career, his general career, is a bit more distinguished than that. I think there's so many things that we do love him from. V for Vendetta and Blackadder, I think, in particular. But there's so much, Simon.
I think he's the only person to be cast because of his look, and that was when he was Oscar Wilde, if you remember. He did that.
Yeah,
and I was like, it's just he looked like him. Yeah, he looked like him, but that was about it. He just
do you remember he nearly wrote a Doctor Who script in was it season 2 or season 1 of the 2005 season? It was all down. He was supposed to be doing it, and it just all fell apart, presumably at the last minute. It never happened.
And that's why we got Fear Her, because that was the slot.
Was that the one? That was the slot.
I can blame him then.
He's a very good actor, and he's beloved by England, I should say. And God bless him.
He's a clever chap as well. Yeah, he's very learned.
Very clever, yeah.
I mean, I say he's a clever chap. I mean, he's come out with a lot of nonsense the last few years, but he seems to have recovered his. He seems to have grown a pair again. So I can see why some people would consider him to be a bit of a C in recent years, but I think he's sort of on his way back a little bit. He started talking sense again, and he doesn't present that QI show anymore, does he? So he's not on the BBC's kind of list.
I put him on the same level as Marianne Margulies now.
I used to like him when he used to do QI. I think he was very good.
He does go around the world now. I think he does a lot of debate circuits, I think.
Yeah, he comes to Australia a lot. He comes to Australia a lot.
Where the money is. Where the money is.
Yeah, well,
somewhat more distinguished.
Is fading. You come here.
Somewhat more distinguished and a little less controversial is Anne Reid. She got CBE in the New Year's Honours list. We know her from 2 appearances in Doctor Who. Simon, first of all, she was the alien. the alien in Smith and Jones, one of my all-time favourite Doctor Who stories. That was. She played a terrific villain in 2007. Ian chasing down the 10th Doctor there with her crash-helmeted mates. But obviously, she was also in the classic show, a memorable turn as Nurse Crane in The Curse of Fenric, all the way back in 1989. So two great turns in two great Doctor Who stories, I think, and a CBE for Anne Reid, now 89 years of age, John.
I think she deserves it. You know, she's been doing this stuff for ages, and she's one of those faces that you recognise in certain things, but you don't know her name. You know, she's been around and she's done a lot of good work. I think she deserves it. You know, there you go.
Yeah, and I do love Curse of Fenric, and I do love that whole interaction between her and Dr. Judson, and she's kind of almost like taking him, almost like playing him down throughout that whole story. You know,
I honestly feel that character actors are the best actors.
Yeah. Well, they are, because they're the most talented. My favourite role that Anne Reid,
every time.
My favourite role that Anne Reid does, it was in Dinner Ladies. I can't remember the name of the character that she played in Dinner Ladies with Victoria Wood. And my favourite line in that whole series was when she walked. There we go. She walked in the one day and she said, "Has anybody spelt my Charlie?" Because anybody that remember Charlie, the old perfume from the 70s, she just walks in deadpan. Has anybody smelt my Charlie?
Brilliant stuff. Yeah, she's done it all, and she does whatever it is. She does it really well too, whether it's comedy or drama. I think most recently she was in this series with Derek Jacobi as well. Now, what was that one called? I can't quite remember.
Tango, something in
Last Tango in Halifax. That's it. Like that. Yeah, big drama, and for a woman who's well into her 80s, about to hit 90, and an honour there for Anne Reid. Finally, from the Doctor Who stable, we have Sally Sparrow herself. Almost forgotten about her. Now 39 years old. That's Carrie Mulligan. She was the lead of the Dr. Light classic Blink all the way back in 2007. Has since gone on to great success in movies, hasn't she? Very glamorous Carrie Mulligan. She's got a CBE as well for her services to acting. I loved her in the film Drive in particular, but it's just one of a long list of great movies that she's been in now, all these years after Doctor Who. When was this? 18 years later? My God.
I still think she is one of the best British actresses working today. I'm honestly not certain that she deserves an award at this stage in her life. Has she actually done enough?
Yeah, she has.
Has she? Okay, fair enough. I'm not.
See,
there's a lot of credits here.
The difference between her and Tom Baker is that she's got a really good agent. And the agent pushed her in America.
But she's such a good actress.
She's been in a lot.
I remember seeing her in The Amazing Mrs. Pritchard many years ago. I think that might have been her first role with, who was it? Jane Horrocks playing the Prime Minister. She was breathtaking in that. She was only very, very young. Really good actress.
She's been Hollywood up, though, hasn't she?
But
I mean, when she first started.
Yeah, she did this movie and it totally turned me off her.
What was
Great Gatsby here on screen?
No, she plays a complete nutter, like a revenging feminist.
Oh, is that something about the revenge of a wallflower or something like that?
Yeah,
it's one of those
something
movies.
like that. Yeah, and it just totally turned me off.
I was going to say, you could see early on, like the fact that she had Blink, and like that's Dr. Light, and that was that the first proper Dr. Light?
Yes, it was.
Love and Monsters was the proper one. Was it Love and Monsters, the one with Mark Warren in it? Was that the year before?
Yeah, I'm trying to think that was before or after.
That's the year after, surely, isn't it?
Love and Monsters was before this
Billy
one.
Piper's in it.
Because this one had, Billy Piper.
Was it in the same series, maybe? That's why we're getting confused. It was probably
it's the year after, because it's got Martha in. Blink has got Martha in. So
remember we were dreading this episode? Do you remember we were dreading this episode because of the year prior?
Because of Love and Monsters,
it's going to be another Doctor. And then it was like, they can do a good one.
Well, so it was still quite early then. I'll say that's probably a better way to phrase it. On this idea of not having your lead in an episode, and I think the fact that she had to be so good, she is. You had to connect with her character. You had to buy her emotions. You had to be scared for her. Like there were so many things that if they got the casting wrong for this, I think it probably would have, there was a good chance Dr. Light episodes going forward would have had a lot more of a harder job to sort of get people excited.
The only thing I didn't like about that episode was the fact that she and that her character went off with the guy in the bookshop.
Oh, the weirdo.
Yeah, it just didn't fit. Him. It didn't. But it didn't fit. It didn't fit with her and him as a couple. It just didn't.
Hang on. You mean because she was hot and he wasn't? Yeah.
Yes. All right. I'm jealous.
I mean, this episode, I remember watching this, finishing it, and I was like, flipping it. Those weeping angels are good. Moffat is on top form here. I don't know how he can ever beat that.
Who can top it? Yeah.
And then it was only a few years later he brought them back.
Got George of the World, yeah.
I was going to say Crash of the Box Antium, mate.
Stick those angels on a tree.
She was very good in it, and I think everyone in it was really good, including the ugly guy, as Matt would say.
Yeah, Matt, what a bastard Matt Potts is. Having a go at that bloke.
But she was great, and Stephen Braddock said it in the chat. She was the companion we never got, and we should have had, and I still can't believe they let her go.
I remember that's the outcry that was across the world when they found out who the next companion was, and it wasn't her.
I think she made the right choice, though.
Yeah, of course she did.
She, I doubt that she would have done The Great Gatsby and fantastic films like Shame and Drive had she continued on in Doctor Who, bless her. People are continuing to join us here for show 200s. We've got the Peter Venkman fan sighting. Greetings and felicitations. Just one of numerous people who've dropped in since, including Sir Sidney, Ruff, Diamond, and lots more. So better late than never, everybody. Pull up a comfy chair and enjoy the rest of the party. We've been talking about the New Year's honours from the Whoniverse, and with a particular focus on Tom Baker, of course, national treasure, naughtiest of boys. And let's not forget to, this very week, a birthday boy. It's been another birthday for Tom Baker. 91 a couple of days ago, not today.
Wow.
It's getting to be like the Queen Mother. When the Queen Mother was still with us, I always felt, Simon, like it was always the Queen Mother's birthday. It is starting to feel like it's always Tom Baker's birthday. But I'm just grateful that he's still with us. He's still working. He's still the Doctor. He's getting this recognition at last. It really is lovely.
Yeah, it is lovely to see. I loved seeing all the stuff about his birthday. So many people commenting, wishing him happy birthday this week.
There's just never ever. He's a one in a trillion. He really is.
Yeah. Literally, he is.
He's never been topped in anything.
I agree.
Don't suppose he has. Come to think of it,
anything he's in. Even that Randall and Hopkirk deceased.
I liked him in that.
Yeah, he's great in that. He's. And sadly, he is one of the last British eccentrics. He really is. There aren't many eccentrics left.
I don't know if you guys saw, they presented him with a birthday cake this week in the shape of a TARDIS as well. Purists may scoff that it's somewhat of a fat TARDIS. It's not quite the right colour, Ian. You know what us Doctor Who fans are like. But I suspect it probably tasted quite nice. Tom certainly seems very happy. He's blowing out his candles.
Bless him.
I hate that icing. I do.
The first time I saw Tom Baker was in the Golden Voyage of Sinbad.
Yeah, I remember that.
First time I
hate marzipan icing, though. I'm sorry, I could not eat that.
Well, he'd probably strip it and get to the cake, won't he? Probably strip it off the marzipan.
Yeah, little cake inside. Ian.
Is that the Master's TARDIS behind him?
The black one.
Could be.
Very good.
Oh dear.
Not the one just rolling toilet paper coming off.
I just want to say thank you to the little. I just want to say thank you to the little bake shop in Hertsmonseur, which is in Sussex, East Sussex. They are a very small business. They bake Tom's birthday cake and release these images to social media. Bless their hearts, so we can all see the birthday boy on his big day there, Simon. Fabulous stuff. Lovely. What were you going to say?
And all I was going to say was I just love the fact that they made a cake in the shape of a TARDIS for him, because it just goes to show Tom Baker is the Doctor is Tom Baker. The two are completely intrinsically linked. They'll never be separated. And so you were going to make a birthday cake for Tom Baker. What are you going to do? We all hail Tom Baker. You're going to turn it into a TARDIS and put a little cardboard cutout of him in the front. Just beautiful. And I'm sure he was delighted with it.
Pretty sure when they cut the cake, he lost the knife because it was bigger on the inside. So there you go.
Very good.
Oh, God.
Hello. I'm Philip Roy, playing the Doctor in the Doctor Who fan film, Doctor Who Meets the Scorpion. I've been on quite an adventure, and this is most definitely the Type 40 podcast.
I think Phil needs a shower.
Yes, it is the year of the Scorpion. Ian, you may scoff.
No,
it's the year of the Scorpion.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Me and you spoke to Roy, didn't we? A long time ago. Was it a whole year ago? Yeah. He's a nice chap, and I'm looking forward to seeing his version, which will be quite cool.
Yeah, I think we all are. There's a lot more to come here on our 200th show. If I can speak properly, I'm so excited. So much more to get stuck into. Thank you everybody for the comments so far. What's coming up, Dan? I hear you cry. Well, there's an update on our AAI figures story. Surely not after all this time. Yes, there is. So we'll be covering that later on. As you said there, Ian, we have spoken to Philip. That was over on Type 40 Extra. So where's that? Here it is. That was on Type 40 Extra. So these Type 40 Extra goodies are available to stream exclusively here on video. These are the most recent sort of supplementary editions of the show. Guests galore from across the fandom on Type 40 Extra. We've got MJ from Doctor Who in the Mid-Journey. He came in for a chat, talks us through the incredible process behind the artificial intelligence that he uses to create those incredible images that look like photos from stories that we didn't get, did we? Amazing work there from MJ. We had Philip in and his colleague to talk about the progress of Doctor Who Meets the Scorpion. Don't miss that. Discomfort and Joy was a little off-cut, and myself, Charlotte, and Anthony, we were talking, weren't we, about George of the World, and generally sort of moaning a little bit about Shooter Gatwa and Russell T Davies for a change. And then to mark Tom Baker's 50th Whoniversary, that was myself and you, Simon, with Sarah. We got together to talk some more about Tom Baker and record a commentary track for the first episode, his first full episode, Robot Part 1, didn't we? That was a good laugh, wasn't it, too?
That was an enormous good fun. That was. Thoroughly enjoyed that.
Love that one.
Excellent stuff. So yeah, hit that all up there on the playlist. The podcast itself, that's resumed for a brand new season 2, kicking off with our review of that latest Christmas special, Joy to the World there. And there was our trip back to late 1989 again. That was myself, Simon and Sarah recording another commentary track on the very last episode of the classic series of Doctor Who. So much across all major podcatchers, you name it, and you can find us there: Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, all those places. This is Type 40 Live, though, with plenty to sink your teeth into, as ever, alongside positive pearls of wisdom as we hit the venerable number of 200. So, yeah, thank you, everybody, for the comments that we've had so far. We need more of that, too, by all means, so keep those coming. What else has gone on this week?
And Dan, your viewers are smart people. The very smartest, I'm told. Everyone says so, and I think they should know the truth, which everyone has been saying, is that Russell T Davies and Phil Collinson, they've been going into these neighborhoods in Cardiff, and they've been eating the dogs, eating the cats, eating all the pets. My people tell me it's true. It's all true, and it's sad, very sad.
Be surprised.
And eating the children as well.
Yeah, one last time there, because obviously that's closed out. One last time, thanks to the Polis box as Type 40's part Brilliant. Of the FPN, and we can't plug other shows. I think it's only fair to mention this because the Polis box went to so much trouble there. I can't thank them enough.
Thank you
it's a fabulous show. It's brilliant. ASMR content. I have to tell you, because for weeks, Simon, I was having a lot of problems in getting into a really deep sleep. So I popped on one of their shows. Minutes later, I was sleeping like a baby. It's just the ticket, lads. So thank you again for that fabulous video. We really do appreciate it.
Hi guys, and welcome to Type 40.
Hey.
Good luck. Good luck, everybody. We're bringing back our greatest hits. Ian, this was one of yours, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, less said about that man, the better, I reckon. Carry on. We'll move on.
But these things, you may say that, but these things are the things that stick in people's memory, Ian. You know, like the memes and the little bits of nonsense that we come out with from time to time here on this show that people do remember.
Yeah, they do. But yeah. That's what else am I going to say?
He's got nothing else. He's got nothing else to say. His modesty. Oh, we haven't mentioned Hugh Grant for a while, have we?
Oh, man.
No, I'd almost forgotten.
He's lying.
I'd almost forgotten Hugh Grant.
If he was cast, this would be completely different. Maybe in another universe.
Our problems
completely different. Yeah.
Our problems would be over, wouldn't they? Obviously, all this is going on in front of a live chat full of our fellow friends, fans, and companions, also celebrating Show 200 Type 40 Live, including Richard, who says, "Evening all, hope you're all okay." I'm getting there,
Hello,
Simon. I was a bit chilly when this started, but I'm really warmed up now. I feel great.
Good. I'm still cold, but there we go.
It really is cold down where you guys are, because it's quite.
Yes, it's freezing.
Noodle Arms is in the live chat. Liven's Flame has joined us too. Sean Nerdaholics is here as well. And there's Lee Smith again. Lots more comments like that.
Cola flavored Jaffa cakes. What?
Oh,
what?
Yeah,
what?
No.
Philip Roy is there with us in the live chat as well.
Hello,
Doctor
Philip.
Who himself. Year of the Scorpion, Phil. Yeah, we'll keep on. And yes, Simon Ashley. He remembers Hugh Grant. He remembers Hugh Grant.
Such a shame.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Type 40 Live across Rumble, X, YouTube, and on Facebook too. Of course, you know, some things about this show as we reach our episode 200. You know, some things, it's unimaginable sort of without them. It's a winning recipe here to create absolute gold. And when people talk to me about the show, you know, privately, well, when we meet people at events and things like that, a lot of things that people tell me relate to the fact that they like the mix, Simon, of the classic, the new, and the old new. And I think that this is best exemplified by every fabulous fact and story that you liberate from the pages of the Doctor Who diary there. So you've had a few weeks off from this, but any landmark edition of our show would not be complete without the Doctor Who diary. What do you think?
Quite right, too.
Here we are.
Yes, indeedy. Here we are with the diary. Here it is. It's still here. Yeah, we've had a few weeks off, but we are back. So welcome to this week's diary. If you're new here, and I know there are some new people here this evening, if you're new here, or if you've forgotten what it was like last year, it's that long ago. What this is where we fire up the TARDIS data bank and we spin the old time rotor and we take a look back at the decades gone, at some of the happenings in the world of Who in years gone by. So today we're going to be setting the temporal coordinates, of course, for the third week of January, and we're going to see what was going on back in the years across the 60 odd years of Doctor Who in this third week of January. There were 23 new episodes that you could have been enjoying back in the day. 6 of them were Tom Baker episodes, I'm delighted to say, with it being his birthday and with it being him with his recent award. Yeah, 6 of them. For anybody interested, yes, The Ark in Space, The Brain of Morbius, The Face of Evil, Underworlds, The Armageddon Factor, and Warrior's Gate. all had new episodes coming out this week in years gone by. The Daleks, the original Dalek story was beginning to get close to an end at episode 6, as was the Daleks master plan in 66. That was episode 11. I can't believe there were 12 episodes to that, but we were at 11 number 11 back in 1966. So yeah, so many cracking stories were getting their we're getting episodes back in the day. Snake Dance, Frontiers, Vengeance on Varos, so many. But what we're doing first and foremost, of course, is Tom Baker that we're talking about this evening. So it'd be rude not to talk a little bit about a Tom Baker story. And it's been exactly 50 years, believe it or not, since the Ark in Space was on television. There we go, part one. Part one of the Ark in Space was, this was screening back in 1970. This week in 1975. Episode 1 of the Ark. Does anybody else remember this? I remember this as clear as yesterday.
God, yes.
Oh yeah. I remember
not on
this
transmission,
really...
but
what I remember so clearly about this is the cliffhanger, the episode ending to this particular episode. I just remember as clear as
is that the one
if
with the
it was
Warren coming out of the closet?
That's the one. That's the one. The Warren literally falls out of the closet. But I remember it so clearly. And this scene that is up on screen, this is of course Tom's wonderful scene about the human race being indomitable.
Yes.
Beautiful scene.
I always loved the fact that the people in the pods, like some of the pods were too big for the people.
Yeah. Well, look at that one on the right-hand side, Matt. She's just a little bit too small.
Yeah,
she's just a bit too small.
It's like we just have the one mold.
And that's exactly what they did have. But what I find amazing about this episode, if you look at the cast list there on the left-hand side, there are 3 people in this episode. Putting the voices aside, of which there are about 4 lines, there are 3 people in episode 1 of the Ark in Space. So these 3 leads, they carry the whole of this 25-minute episode right the way through from start to finish, which is, I think, really quite an accomplishment. You know, it's easy to forget that, but there's just 3 people.
I don't think I'd ever given it any thought before. Sorry, John.
That's okay. No, I was just going to say, this just, for me, cements the fact when you have current producers saying you need to have big budgets and you need to do this and that and the other. This didn't have a big budget, but it was well written.
Right. It's well written,
well directed, and
well acted.
If you do that, you've got goals. And I get fed up with the nonsense they always say about we need more money. They did it budgets. In the 70s.
Also, I'd just like to point out that even though it was the 70s, the sets were really well done in this episode. They really were. I mean, if you look at some of the other episodes with with the same amount of money, this is the at least they try to make it more streamlined. And I mean, obviously the little spinny things at the back gives it away, but everything else, it was quite nice. You know, there wasn't any. Yeah, it's just really good set design as far as
I
I'm
actually
concerned.
think you could go back in a new series of Who now to that kind of space station set, and it would still work today. I really do.
What it does so well is it communicates the theme of sort of isolation,
and
sort of idea of the future, and it's just which was sort of embedded and you needed in this story. That's what I remember when I first watched this. That I remember. The thing that probably got me, to be fair, was the design. Like that's what I noticed first, because it was so sleek and clean, but like in that sort of clean sense of something's wrong. Like it shouldn't look this clean and nice. Like it just was the hints of what was to come without saying it, which is lovely.
Yeah, it is a really clever set, and it always the Ark in Space always reminds me very much of Alien, and of course it's 4 years before Alien. But it does have a feel. The whole story does have a feel of Alien. It's almost like the people who made Alien saw the Ark in Space. It had a troubled history to get to the screen. The Ark in Space did. It was originally written by Christopher Langley. Then John Lucarotti had a go. John Lucarotti, of course, who had written one of the best William Hartnell stories, if not the best William Hartnell.
I sincerely never knew this.
The Aztecs. Yeah, Christopher Langley sort of fell at very much at the first hurdle. John Lucarotti got as far as writing, I think he might even have finished all the scripts. But bless him, by all accounts, John Lucarotti was, because he'd written for the First Doctor, he was still writing for the First Doctor.
Yeah.
And
that
it
would
just
have been interesting.
Oh, it would be really interesting. I have a
Would he have gone with like a future historical sort of style? Do you think?
Yeah, I have a feeling it might even have been dramatised by Big Finish at some point. The original Lucarotti script. It even had sort of he gave it was a really out there story, and he gave the episodes titles, things like golf ball and puffball. They were all balls. He literally gave it a title. With balls. Yeah, they were. Everyone was named after a ball.
Can I ask a question? Did this episode have a decent, well, in BBC standards, budget? Because the sets are really good. The corridors, the corridors, and
it had a low budget simply because it was set entirely in the studio. So this was one of their budget-saving stories. This was they were saving the budget up for Genesis of the Daleks and Revenge of the Cybermen, which were big budget stories. So no, this was really.
I agree with Ian.
Budget.
I think it looks quite lavish because it's. I suppose because it's tall. That's probably why.
I mean, that corridor with the space, you can see the windows and you see outside in space. I mean, that's just a really well designed set. Isn't it?
It is.
And let's not forget the bubble wrap.
Well, they ended up reusing it for the Revenge, didn't they?
Yeah.
It's really good. Really good.
Tom Baker rather perfectly for considering, as I say, we're sort of looking at Tom a lot in this story, in this episode. Tom named this as his one of his favourites, if not his favourite story. He really responded well to this. Stephen Moffat always said that he thought this was the best classic Doctor Who story.
What does he know?
Of all time. Well, all I can tell you, Ian, is that the public agreed the Ark in Space actually hit a bit of a record with its viewing figures. So even after just 4 weeks of Tom Baker, suddenly the public were getting on board with this, and Doctor Who for the first time ever became the 5th most watched programme in that week. As popular as Doctor Who was, it didn't often break into the top 10 in those days, simply because there was so much other good stuff around. But it did become the 5th most watched programme of that week, this particular story. So it was hitting it was working for the public at this point. It was hitting the nerve correctly.
Just lately, what struck me about particularly this conversation we've been having so far is it chimes so much with something you were saying to me, Charlotte. We talked about on a previous show, in that oftentimes each sort of 25-minute slice of Doctor Who, of classic Doctor Who, has its own sort of flavour. And when you talk about this only having those 3 actors in, it's like that, isn't it, Charlotte? Because it sort of detaches it from the rest of the story and the sort of the isolation, the slow creeping menace, and the eeriness.
What I really enjoy about classic Who when I watch it compared to the more modern stuff is like every part is self-contained in the best way, and that's what I was talking about. It's like its own little story, and then the next part does carry on, but it's got like a different feel sometimes, or sort of atmosphere, or characters come in that change.
Because once you bring in a monster or 2 or 3 extra characters, and it shifts the dynamic, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's fascinating to see that as. It's technically one big story, but there's so much in each part. And I think that's what it's so well in classic run.
There's a lot going on, and it develops a lot from episode 1, which, as I say, it's just got 3 people in. It develops an enormous amount of 4 episodes.
I mean, episode 1, I was just going to say, was the fact that you could have had that entire episode of the Doctor and Harry on the floor trying to take out the automatic defense system.
Yeah.
Because that's just pure gold.
It's riveting.
They really, then they've clicked. That the cast are really clicking, because what is it? He goes,
Harry.
Oh, blooming good effort, Doctor, and then the face Tom gives of thank you.
Yes.
Isn't this the one where he compliments him, Harry, and then he goes, "Well, it's because of me," you know?
Yes, that's right.
Even in that shot there, he's carrying the broken shoe.
Yeah.
I always think of this as the show where he puts a membrane on his head and then he can see what happened, and I'm just remembering it.
Also, the reason why the sets are so good is because in some Doctor Who's, right, you can see they went to IKEA and they've got an IKEA table and they've got a chair from Studio 2 or something like that and they've pushed that there. But this one seems like they made the effort to actually build something, which is quite nice, isn't it, for Doctor Who in those days? Yeah.
I would also say the bubble wrap arm, I still think it looks good. I still like it today. Because when I first watched that as a kid, I was like, this is scary for kids.
They painted it green.
Body horror. Yeah, exactly. But you look back for then, I still think it looks decent.
It does. It still works.
So decent in fact that. Sorry, lads.
You're going to disagree.
It's so decent, so tried. It's so tried and tested that Philip Roy has confessed here in the live chat. Another tease for Doctor Who Meets the Scorpion. He says we've used green painted bubble wrap in the film, so we pinch from the best. Every time we do this, it always makes me.
Seen bubble wrap before.
I know
every time we do this,
for me it's not new, so I look at it and I go, that's clearly bubble wrap.
Every time we do this, it always makes me want to go back and hit the story up, but we have got to move on. What's next?
We have. Well, I'll just give you my very final fun fact from the Ark in Space, which is that Robert Holmes was not very happy with the Wirral because he thought it looked like a knackered Muppet. So he was not.
It's not wrong, I suppose.
Well, it's always funny when he shuffles along the floor. You can see that the feet are moving.
But moving on. We're actually spinning back a couple of years now because we're going back. It's been 48 years since the Three Doctors episode 4 was screening back in 1973.
Brilliant.
Absolutely, Ian. I'm sure you. I know you
need a clone.
I know you'll have fond memories of this, Ian.
I love this. I love it.
I know that John is your favourite Doctor. So, of course, the Three Doctors opened season 10, which was the anniversary season. The anniversary was obviously still several months off, but the season opened back in January, and they decided to start with the Three Doctors because that's what Barry Letts used to like to do, was to start the season with a real kick. We forget about it, but it's worth pointing out again. This was the first ever multi-Doctor story. You know, it's easy to forget the significance of this, and the show had fought against it for so long, but it is the first multi-Doctor story. That photo is, of course, famously taken in William Hartnell's garden. The myth goes round that all of his footage was shot in his garage, and it wasn't. It was all shot in Ealing. But this particular photograph, the publicity they did was John Pertwee and Patrick Trout went down to William Hartnell's house, and they took these photographs here. But it's lovely that William Hartnell. Because, of course, this was the very, very last time we saw William Hartnell in Doctor Who. This was it. A couple of years later, bless him, he had died, sadly.
It was his final screen role as well, wasn't it?
It was indeed his very final screen role. This was the last thing he ever did on television. He was apparently very touched and very moved by the fact that when he went to Ealing to record his scenes, sitting in his little perspex cube, apparently the BBC treated him royally. They picked him up in a limousine. They took him over.
Really?
They treated him really, really well. They took him back in the limousine. They looked after him because by then Heather Hartnell, his wife, had sort of told Barry Letts, look, he's not a well man. Look after him well. And so, boy, did they look at him. And apparently he was just really touched by it. He felt, because of course he had originated the role, and two sort of younger usurpers had come along since then and sort of stolen his thunder. And
about
so
65 there, Simon.
He would have been around about 60. I'm just thinking, I'm doing the maths, because he was 55 when he was in Doctor Who. So 65. Yeah, you're right.
Just a few years older than Ian. So we better be
Oh, what a bastard!
That was a bit
do you know what though? When he started, he was very young, wasn't he?
Yeah,
wasn't he? And then you look at him, his last role. He looks the same when he started.
He looks exactly the same.
Made him look older, didn't they, when he started? And he looks,
Can I also just say, in the current era, where they hype up a story before it's aired and it's will be the biggest ever. Just go back and look at that the writing for the description of that episode in the Radio Times image you had for the 3 Doctors. And boy, is that fantastic, because just from that description there about the episode, it's like, it's just in your mind. It's made it massive.
Yeah, I know.
I'm so excited for it. You know, the first Doctor joins, what is it? Yeah, his fellows in Omega's world.
You just want to watch it, don't you?
Gamble to defeat Omega with cosmic annihilation as the price of failure. You want to tune in.
Yeah, you do.
The thing is, that's not telling you by every line, this is good, you're going to love it.
No.
It's just saying, here's what's happening in the plot. And it's, you're right, it just
because it's true.
So much better
yes,
now.
it is true. It's exactly what happens.
Well, TV was young in those days. They didn't have the hype thing, and they didn't, you know, what we.
They just got on and they did stuff, didn't
they? Exactly.
They did just get on and they did stuff. Yeah. This, of course, because this was the 4th episode, this also marks the end of the Doctor's exile, which is rather nice, of course, because we've just seen the start of the Doctor's exile just before Christmas in the War Games. So we've just seen the kickoff of this particular era of the show in the War Games, and here we are on this date in 1973. Yeah, we just watched the end of it because
I've always loved John Pertwee's acting in that, where he's gone, it's the Time Lords, they've forgiven me. You know, I love it when it just breaks a little bit. His voice breaks. He's like,
it's understated, isn't it, Matt?
Yeah.
Just imagine what Murray Gold would do at that moment now.
Indeed.
I did everything about this episode, both episodes, I really liked. But I still can't help chuckling at when Patrick Troughton first appears. And he takes the recorder off.
Yes.
I can't remember, and but their acting is so over the top in that scene. I just can't help laughing. But it is wonderful, though. I
just love the fact that the brig spends about 10 minutes wandering around trying to realize where he is.
Yeah.
And it's just brilliantly acted.
He is arrogant, isn't he? He's very arrogant. The brig.
But that's the fact that he just plays it. So, like, he's out of his element in every way. He's in this other world. He doesn't know, but he's still trying to be like, I'm in charge, but failing. And it's just brilliantly done.
And of course, Nicholas Courtney famously came up with the line, the infamous line of, I'm pretty sure it's Chroma out there. He came up with that line, and he was very, very proud of that line. It's a good line. It's worth pointing out, this is the first time, this story is the first time ever that the Brigadier actually goes into the TARDIS. Again, we kind of take it for granted and assume that maybe he went. No, he didn't. Yeah, we were 3 years into John Pertwee's tenure at this point. It's the first time that he and Benton go into the TARDIS. Interestingly, it's also the first time we ever hear the words, it's bigger on the inside than the outside. That's the first time that you hear that, and that's Benton. Benton comes in and he's stunned. Yeah. And the doctor says that it's bigger on the inside than the outside. So it's also worth pointing out it's a brand new TARDIS console room designed by Roger Limington. They'd had a brand new TARDIS console room for the Time Monster that closed out the previous season, but it was universally hated. It's the one that's infamously known as the one with washing up bowls on the walls, and it is terrible. So it was universally hated, and I think, to be honest, they were all rather relieved to discover when they got back from the summer break, to discover it had all warped in storage, and so they had to build a new TARDIS set. And of course, that TARDIS set was the one that then went on for many, many years. It's also first time we ever hear about Jelly Babies. The second Doctor is the one who, of course, Tom Baker, who we keep on talking about tonight, is Mr. Jelly Babies, but they were first offered by Patrick Troughton.
Yeah, but
in this particular story,
I was about to say I really love it when Benton was trying to explain. Well, this guy is this guy. That scene makes me laugh.
It's lovely. It's also we're talking about Hartley. It's his very, very final appearance in Doctor Who, and you're right, Dan. His final screen appearance. It's the first time that John Pertwee and William Hartnell had appeared together, actually, since a film, Will Any Gentleman, in 1953.
Of course.
Yeah. So they had been together there, but this is the first time that they're reunited, which is rather nice. Jamie and Zoe were also due to return in this story, but Mr. Pertwee sort of felt the TARDIS might be a little bit too crowded.
Yeah, it's a big cast list compared to Ark in Space Episode 4, isn't it? You can see Pertwee. I mean, he may have been. There may have been something else in the equation there, but he was right. He was right.
He was right. He absolutely was right. An interesting thing I think about this story as well is Omega's Mask. If you look at Omega's Mask, it's clearly sort of based on Greek theatre. If you see any of those sort of that classical Greek theatre, do you know what I mean?
With holes.
Correct.
Gaping.
And that's what
holes.
Omega's Mask is based on. And I still love Omega's Mask. It's a magnificent design.
It was the best one. It was the best one, wasn't it? You know.
Oh, it was.
It's very regal. It's what you would expect an old Time Lord to have.
But that reveal.
I was going to say the moment when it comes off and like you're doing that theatre of the mind thing that he's got such this ornate, he's got like you said this ornate, beautiful, like king-like mask. He must either look beautiful or monstrous or something, and then there's nothing. That's such good,
fabulous.
Sort of
it's beautiful. It's interesting to hear that apparently Nicholas Courtney's young son was visiting the set while they were filming some of the Omega scenes, and apparently his son got very frightened by Stephen Thorne's performance. So apparently, allegedly, Stephen Thorne toned down the performance. Well, if he toned it down, heaven only knows what it was like to be, because there's not much scenery left by the end of Omega's scenes, because he's chewed it all to pieces. I can't imagine. I cannot imagine a more over-the-top performer than Stephen Thorne. You know, you think of Azal and you think of Eldrad from the Hand of Fear. They're all over the top, so I don't believe he toned it down. Don't believe it for a second.
There is a certain sort of swelling of regret that Jamie and Zoe weren't in this story from people in the live chat, but generally speaking, they were.
I like the fact that they pulled him out of out of his own stream though, because I'm glad they didn't continue it. Like it would have been too confusing.
Time Lords are horrible.
Yeah.
It works well. I must be honest. I remember seeing this on transmission when I was how old was I? 5.
You're not that old.
I am. I was 5. And I do remember seeing it on transmission, but I remember it very, very clearly, of course, from the legendary series that keep on talking about the 5 Faces of Doctor Who, and it was really exciting to see it there. And I still think it's a cracking story. It's a great fun. It's just fun.
Always worth a revisit. And of course, we did a deep dive on this a couple of years ago. Now it could be worth going back to again.
Didn't we?
I always like the fact that the guy that goes missing with the shotgun is in a nature reserve.
Not a naturist's reserve, and just a nature reserve. It could have gone all sorts of wrong.
Talking about the sets and everything, you know, in this one, when they look at the First Doctor, he's on like a TV, a BBC TV, which is probably in Studio 5.
Literally a Vision Mixer's TV screen.
I'm saying,
if you look in, if you look carefully in, you can see the cameras reflected in the TV screen and see the edges of the set.
So
I do like that though. I find that charming as well. I find all of it. I just love.
Today they'd probably try and airbrush them out.
They would. They'd eradicate it. They'd remove it.
I'm sure that what's his name will get round to that at some point. What's that fella's name? Ben Cook.
He'll improve it, Dan. He will improve it. Ben Cook can improve anything.
You can have that one for free, Ben, as long as I don't have to watch it. What's next time?
Moving on. A birthday. We talked about Tom's birthday earlier on. 91, bless him. We talked about Tom's birthday, I think we can safely say we've covered Tom quite adequately. We're going to talk about another Doctor who would have been 85 yesterday, and that is the great and sadly late
fabulous
John Hurt, who, as I say, would have been very class act. Would have been 85 years yesterday. Sadly, he died back in 2017, which actually is 7 years ago. On Saturday, he died. Yeah, he died.
Long ago.
He died on the 25th of January. So he's one of those people in the diary. These pop up every so often, where sadly the birthday
he died around the same time.
The death are in exactly the same week. And this is one. I'm sorry, Matt. Go on.
I was going to say I thought he died just as Whittaker was announced.
Oh, I don't know.
I think I died when that was announced.
Yeah, that was my point.
Very good, very good. So of course, he played the War Doctor. It's an interesting fact that at 73, we just talked about William Hartnell's age when he took on the role, which was early mid 50s. At 73, he was the oldest actor so far to assume the role of the Doctor. Richard Herndl was 72 when he took on the role of the first Doctor in Five Doctors. So yeah, John Hurt was the oldest actor. He's also the only actor ever to play the Doctor to receive a Best Actor Oscar nomination. He didn't actually get it for the Doctor. I can't remember what role he actually got the Oscar.
Man?
Elephant Man, of course it would have been the Elephant Man. Yeah, you're quite right. Yeah. So he'd already got the Oscar, but he's the only actor to play the Doctor that has got one. Get this. He was considered for the role of the Eighth Doctor at the same time as Paul McGann, which is all rather telling, seeing as he then went on to replace the Eighth Doctor in the Night of the Doctor. He was also considered for the role of Sharaz Jek in the Caves of Androzani, and also the Governor in Vengeance on Varos. He was considered for all of those roles.
As much as I love Martin Jarvis in that role as the Governor, John Hurt would have been amazing.
Can you imagine?
I think it'd have been a little wasted in Androzani, but I'd have loved to have seen him in Vengeance on Varos. Yeah.
Little bit of background about him. Born in Derbyshire, not a million miles away from us. Born in Derbyshire, trained as a painter in Grimsby, very close to where I lived at one point in my life.
I had that second job.
Absolutely. In 1960, though, he went off to RADA, Matt. He went off to RADA to learn his craft, and boy, did he learn his craft. You're going to love this. There are over 200 credits on IMDb for this man. Over 200 credits. This was one prolific actor. His very, very first screen role was back in 1962 in Z-Cars, as so many people did Z-Cars in those days. The role, of course, that brought him to everybody's attention was playing Quentin Crisp in The Naked Civil Servant in 1975. And then he did a massive role in I, Claudius in 1976 on the BBC. Of course, in many ways, best remembered here as we can see him for the part of Kane in Alien in 1979. Interestingly, he wasn't originally cast for the part of Kane. He'd originally gone to an actor called John Finch. But he was taken seriously with diabetes on the first day of filming. So they started filming with John Finch, but he was taken ill. And so director Ridley Scott had to recast the part very, very quickly, and decided on John Hurt, and apparently drove to John Hurt's house and pitched him the script over the weekend. And John Hurt arrived on set on the Monday morning, ready to play the part, having had very little sleep, learning the part, which is probably why he looks so ill throughout Alien, because he does.
He does look very sickly in that film, but I'd assumed it was getting into the part.
I think he was just tired. I think he was just absolutely worn out from having spent the whole weekend learning this part, ready to arrive on set on the Monday morning. That, I don't know about anybody else, that is my iconic role for John Hurt, and always will be.
But there are so many. He's one of those actors who people say, "Oh, he was in that," and "Oh, he was in that," and I go, "Oh, yeah, I love that, and I love that." So I can never really make up my mind, Ian. You know,
I
you're
love
a big
him
movie
in
fan.
Rillington Place. If you've ever seen that movie,
yeah, he's great in that. The thing is, though, he never had much lines in Aliens. He must have had like 3 pages of lines in Alien.
In Alien.
Yeah, so
it's not a lot. I still argue actually that his death in Alien is the most famous screen death of all time.
Maybe, yeah.
It's up there, isn't it?
I would really like somebody to argue and say, no, this one is more famous. Because even if you haven't seen it, you know of it. You know of that screen death.
Yeah.
Elephant
I didn't like
Man.
him in that role.
You didn't like him?
Not in Harry Potter.
Oh, in Harry Potter.
I first saw him in, because that was my childhood Potter, so that was my introduction.
Bless you. So that's your introduction to John Hurt, is
yes.
it? Wow.
Because I wasn't like into sci-fi movies at that point, or like older sci-fi, and I think but the fact that in the sort of the theme in all his stuff is he doesn't have to have a lot of lines. He doesn't have to have a lot of technically screen time, and he sort of just has that impression on you. So I remember seeing him in Harry Potter, and it must only be, once again, probably about 10 lines or less, I would guess, as Ollivander. But he's that wizard, that sort of old figure, that sort of wise figure, and he's got a little like sparkle in his eye.
Yeah,
and,
he has.
You get that from just a tiny amount of time he's technically on screen.
Yeah, he's one of those people that once he's on screen, he dominates it. And as Livens Flame said just now, yeah, it's the voice. It is down. A lot of it is down to that voice. He's got just an amazing, sort of gravelly, very, very memorable voice.
Another one that would have played Gandalf well.
Yeah,
one of the best things of what is it? Hellboy. He was in Hellboy. And
he was in Hellboy as well. Yeah. So many things, and there's lots. There's lots that people are spotting up here. Yes, various people are mentioning Spaceballs, in which he spoofs his own performances again in Spaceballs.
What's he eating?
So many roles. The Elephant Man, he's incredible as the Elephant Man in 1980. He plays Winston Smith. He plays Winston Smith in the 1984 version of 1984. Yes. Just so much stuff. He won a BAFTA in 2012 for his outstanding contribution to British cinema.
Played. Sorry, Simon. He actually played the counterpart to that 1984, where the guy behind the screen in V for Vendetta. He actually was the police.
Yeah.
Yes,
if you remember that.
I forgot. Forgotten about that.
So many things.
And also, Dan, you did say earlier on that no actor to play the Doctor had got an award before. Well, of course, actually, this guy had. Do we class him as a Doctor? Well,
I do.
Absolutely. Just about. So he got a CBE in 2004, and he was knighted in 2015. So he was sort of technically the first actor to play the Doctor to be to get any sort of award. He was married at one point, but just very briefly in the early 60s. He was married to Annette Robertson, who played Anne Chaplet in The Massacre the year later. So he's got a little Doctor Who. Yeah, I know, it's crackers, isn't it? He has got a little Doctor Who link himself there anyway. But look at that face.
Again, how spoiled were we at this point though? You're talking about John Hurt has been cast as an incarnation of the Doctor. I mean, it's such a fantastic time to be a Doctor Who fan. It really was,
and to have those three on screen, like at the height. I would say, like Matt at that point, he'd fully settled in the role. He was just going roaring for fun. Tennant hadn't been back about 50 times at this point, so it was quite exciting that Tennant was coming back, and it was.
I also get the impression, Charlotte, that when you see pictures such as the one we're looking at now, or you listen to the actors talk about this, that it was a pretty good time to be a Doctor Who as well. They couldn't believe it that they were working with John Hurt on this. I don't think Stephen Moffat could either.
Yeah, there was almost this almost Stardust look in their eyes of John Hurt here. Like, we've got John Hurt, and the fact that they were written with this dynamic of. We said this when we talked about it a while ago, the 50th. They were all different aspects of the Doctor and different aspects of his regret or sort of his hope or his sort of pain. They all reflected. And that was such a clever writing thing of Moffat that he could have written them all very separate, but they all like fed back into each other on screen with their dialogue and the lines, which was really good.
And Darren Bradley saying this. Yeah, go on, Dan.
No, Darren says, along with Tom Baker, John was probably in the top 5 go-to advertising voiceovers, certainly on British television. You forget all the things, all the things he did, all the things he advertised, and public information films and things like that as well. So he had to deliver some pretty unpleasant news to the British public at various times in his career.
What's that woman doing in the background of the picture? Is she locking a guy out of the TARDIS?
Yeah, that was John Barrowman trying to get in.
Yeah,
that's right. I'd forgotten. Yeah, he did. He was the AIDS voiceover, wasn't he? Don't die of ignorance. Yeah, I'd forgotten completely about that. He did have just a voice to die for. So sadly, I say we lost him 7 years ago on Saturday. I'll leave you with a lovely little quote. Well, a rather poetic quote from John Hurt. He said, "We're all just passing time, and we occupy our chair very briefly." And that's John Hurt, isn't it? Nice. So happy birthday to John Hurt, who would have been, as I say, 85 yesterday. And I think it's fair to say he's very sadly missed because he was an absolute class act, as you said, Dan.
And absolutely the Doctor there. I mean, thank you, Simon. That was a fabulous collection of entries into the diary, as always. The Doctor Who diary from the heart, very much the heart and the mind of Simon Horton. There,
hey! Had to do it.
Who's that handsome chap?
Sincerely, Simon.
Spotty youth.
I love the guy behind there.
I was going to say, did you get an argument with him?
Something.
Yeah, if looks could kill.
It's a mother's haircut, that is.
What do you mean Legopolis isn't your favourite story?
Look at that old-fashioned mic. My God.
I told you we're bringing back some of our greatest hits here for show 200. Thanks again, Simon. Actually, let's not move on just yet. Sincerely, Simon, a massive thank you for the Doctor Who diary. Not just this diary, all of them. I can't quite recall, like a lot of things when it comes to the show, I can't quite recall when this first came to life, but it's very much the core of the show. It's powered by your own love of the series and the fandom itself. And I can't really imagine, having been here this whole time and doing my silly stuff, anchoring the show and saying silly things, without you here to balance things out in this manner so beautifully and so brilliantly.
Oh, you're very kind.
You're one of the best friends I think anyone could wish for, and Type 40 live without you or the diary in whatever form, it just wouldn't work. So,
I think we should all leave now, shall we?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I'm going. Bye.
Let's all go. I'll be going.
I think we've talked a little bit about William Hartnell. I think Simon's our William Hartnell.
Oh, you're very kind.
I know what she means. Yeah, so great stuff. And if you agree, and why wouldn't you, let us know in the comments.
I need a big dance number. That's what I'm going to put into the universe. I need the Doctor to have a big, fierce dance routine that, like, destroys a monster with twerking. Or maybe some death drops. And that's what will drop the monster.
We've
still great.
It's still a fabulous one, isn't it? But yeah, this guy, he's sat on the throne strumming his instruments. Yeah, there we go. So yes, we've kept one another laughing, comparing each other's time streams when it comes to Doctor Who history across 200 editions of this show now. Bringing further sort of merriment, really, has been the wanton plundering of the TV archives by our Ogrons here for the fan favourite segment, the Type 40 Live Doctor Who ad break. Not just a perfect junction for you and indeed me to point Percy at some porcelain, but a way to guarantee those blessed with a stronger bladder control that they can remain engaged another way. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
If you'd seen me this morning, rotten cold, market day ahead, wondering how I'd get through, till the wife told me, here, she says, day nurse, she says. What nurse, I says? Day nurse, she says.
Day Nurse, the new daytime cold relief from the night nurse people. Relieves shivers, headache, runny nose, sore throat and cough. All together but without drowsiness, so you can keep going through the day.
You'll get through easily, the wife says. And she was right.
New Day Nurse from Beecham. All-round cold relief that helps you through the day.
I am the new Remington's electric shaver. Twist my dial and I will obey you. At 1, I am gentle. At 2 and 3, I grow fiercer. At 4, I will annihilate the toughest whisker. 5 is for sideboards. 6 is for cleaning me. Thank you. That will be £8.19 and 6p.
Cool, mellow, satisfying St. Bruno. Flake already rubbed. A real pipe smoker's dream.
Yeah, that was the Type 40 Live Doctor Who ad break. Time honoured and much envied, and you're back with Type 40 Live, covering the past, the present, and yes, the future of the Whoniverse, both on and off screen. We're fitting in as many Doctors as we possibly can, Doctors and others as well. The panel haven't moved a muscle, and they're like... I'm just checking. It's still here. They haven't moved a muscle, and they're like coiled springs here, ready to deliver you some more. So I've got Charlotte Shields here. We've got Simon Horton, Ian David Diaz, John Yulden, and Matt Pott here, making up our panel on the 200th edition, no less, of Type 40 Live. We've been all around. We've been all around the houses already, but you know, it's never going to be too much, I think. Just to acknowledge the fact that we've been here for 200 of these live streams, rattling on about the past, the present, and the future of Doctor Who with you there in the live chat, and we've been extracted for this edition to sort of look through some of our yesterdays, as well as getting stuck into everything connected with the world's longest running, best loved sci-fi and fantasy TV series. Who's at the control? Well, does it matter? All of us to one form or another, I think. But everybody out there who's watching and listening along, thank you so much for all the comments so far. We really do appreciate it. Yes, so we've delved into the past, the classic past, and the new past. We've celebrated some Doctor Who icons. I think it could be time to look into the future, because Doctor Who will where is it? Doctor Who will return. That's what they keep threatening us with this, Charlotte. They keep
it's becoming a threat, isn't it?
They're very ominous letters whenever they do that, aren't they? I'm always a bit okay.
It's like it should be displayed at Halloween, that, shouldn't it, really?
It's like one of those letters you get from the TV licensing people to say, "You sure you don't want a license? Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure?" Yeah, fuck off. Yes, so we've got comments there in the live chat from everybody watching along as well. Bless John says Nerdaholics. That's Sean from the Nerdaholics. I think he means John Nathan Turner. I think
or maybe he means John Hurt.
Yeah. John Hurt. Oh, a bit of both. Could be all Johns. All Johns, including our John. Excellent diary, Simon, says Lord Thoth. And we've got Hit Peak Geek.
Yeah, that's my favourite one. That's the photo of me when I was about 12. Kes the drone. I'm loving it. We've hit Peak Geek. Yep, that's about right.
I thought that Kes meant just generally, because I think we could get geekier. I think we can definitely get geekier.
I don't know as we can.
I love it.
I'm not sure. It's probably not good for the public's health if we do get any more geeky.
200 shows means 200 bathroom visits, reminds Gary Akers there. And he's not wrong, to be fair. I usually try and fit in 2 every show if I can. Because you never know when I'm having the second one. You'll always wonder now, won't you?
You're sitting on a commode, aren't you, Dan? That's what you
Is he doing it now? Is he doing it now?
You've got that shiwi strapped to your leg right now, haven't you?
Fabulous, absolutely fabulous. What else? Scott Goodman's in the live chat too. I've seen Scott kicking around. I know he's here.
Scott's gone to bed. He's just commented and said he's going to bed.
He's gone to bed.
He's gone
Get up,
to
Scott. We've got more to talk about. We've got our mate PH there in the live chat. Hey, Matt. Hey, he just gets one.
We might be talking to Matt the Waking.
That's who he's talking about. I had Dwayne. Is he up early as well? Blimey, that's an early one for you.
No one likes me.
Adrian Sherlock's there in the live chat too. And who else is here? Yes, we've got late risers. Doctor Who will twerk, suggests Richard. Well, you never know. The night is young. I don't think I'm going to play that clip.
He wears dresses.
It won't just put you off your supper, it'll probably put you off your breakfast as well if I play that clip again. But yeah, thank you everybody for everything that we've had so far. Here's to the future, says Crimpling de Bloon as well. It's a reference to a seismic chapter in classic Doctor Who history, which we will eventually do a special on. I'm convinced we will at some point.
Delta and the Banana Men. Yeah.
That sounds like a bunch of strippers. Oh God. We are supposedly here to cover all things Doctor Who, the past, the present, and the future. But we are very much in the present right now because, I'm happy to say, as sort of designated driver and sort of general silly Billy, because this has been very much me, hasn't it? Throughout the last 6 months of coverage, post season 1 of all new Doctor Who, there's been something that's sort of been niggling away at us, really. Well, me, really. I'm not sure if
yeah, the rest of us gave up, Dan.
Mostly.
Is that a picture of Ian Levine?
Ian, are you out there watching? I'll have to ask him. I mean, Ian doesn't like this story, so I very much doubt that he cooperated.
I know he doesn't.
In the making of Space Babies. But yeah, post the season, we've been keeping the gag running with this because something's been missing. It's those AAI figures. And for all we knew, this could have just run and run and run and run, but with no fanfare whatsoever, a few weeks ago, Barb did make public those AAI figures for the whole of the last season of the show. You've doubtless seen them already. They're logged in on Wikipedia, fully searchable on the Barb website like nothing ever happened. This was definitely a bow that we needed to tie, though, for the 200th show at the very least. And here they all are. These are those missing AAI figures at last for the whole of season 1. Now, Church and Ruby Road, the Christmas special from 2023, that scored 82, perfectly reasonable. 82 there on Christmas Day for Shitagawa's first story. And when the era recommenced a few months later, as we see, it didn't start great there with 75 for Space Babies. Up a little bit for the Devil's Cord, but to see all these and to get them all at once, Charlotte, I was really surprised. I mean, I don't know how long. I kind of thought because it had been so long that we weren't going to get them at all. Maybe something had changed legally behind the scenes, and yet here they are, like nothing ever happened. And whilst they're nothing particularly to write home about, they're pretty consistent. And to be honest, when it comes to AAI figures, which are primarily for the advertising industry, everybody, they're not necessarily for us, or even logged in the same way that ratings are they for advertisers. A consistent AAI figure is actually quite desirable, and these are generally pretty consistent. And the season did close on, if not a high, then certainly considerably higher than when it began. So, Charlotte, what do you think the problem was? Why did they keep these from us?
Like you said, when we all said, "Oh God, they must be down like terrible." These AI figures, they're hiding them, like they're not talking about them, and then they come out and they're basically what Jodie was getting by the end of her run. So they're not that disastrous. The only logic I was
expecting way worse.
Yeah. The only logic I can think of is they knew they already had bad press to do the Fume figures. They knew they had bad press because of the fan reaction to those episodes. So did they just sort of pick, this is the lesser thing not to get out, to sort of make it seem as not as much of like this storm of bad stories surrounding the show at that point? That's the only one I can think of, really.
Simon?
I had never even thought of it like that, but it makes absolute sense. I suppose what these figures do, Charlotte, is they sort of consolidate the fact that the viewing figures were low, and it's not like they could roll these out and say, okay, the viewing figures might be low, but the audience that are watching it absolutely love it. They couldn't say that. They're just these very average figures. You're right, Dan. They're not disastrous by any means. They're just very average. And so it wasn't going to be any threats to the poor viewing figures that they'd got. It wasn't combating that. It wasn't giving a different narrative. So it was merely another, I guess at the time, it would have been another nail in the coffin to sort of say, the public aren't really liking it. We're getting poor figures and poor, average figures, I guess.
I would say as well, my view on it is there's also almost a production ego that has been trying to hide these coming out at the time, because like you said, the viewing figures weren't great. These are average, but they hyped it up before the season started again.
Yeah, good
We're
point.
going to be big. We're going to be bigger than ever. We've got Disney with us. We're going to be a global behemoth. That's what they were going for. So suddenly to sort of, damp squib kind of come out with these average AAIs, I think that's a reason why maybe they did, because they had egg on their face potentially, so they stalled for quite some time.
I do think it's interesting then that it seemed quite early on then, if we're all sort of saying maybe this is why, maybe early on they actually were very worried. They were actually seeing what you said, John, all this, they're going to love us, all the fanfare, Russell's back, we're going to be bigger, we're going to be this, we're going to be that.
Well, looking back, Charlotte, it was consistently one cock-up after another. The only publicity they had around this show throughout the entire season, and to be honest, before it even started, was bad.
Oh, yeah, the press tours, we've all said this, I've not thought of a worse starting point. Because even with the Jodie stuff, yes, they made stupid comments, but I feel like even with Jodie's first series, they weren't as personal when it came to the fan interactions, how nasty and sort of unwelcoming. Whereas this series, it felt that they really were setting up, if you don't like us, go away. Like that.
Yeah.
Was
the only thing that I remember that's really stuck in my memory, Charlotte, was the fact that they had the livery on the side of that underground train in New York, which that was the only time any of it impressed me at all. Like, wow, they've really done that. Other than that, it was just reheated bullshit that we've seen 101 times.
Because I do need to go in a sec, but it was interesting. Yeah, the press tour, the American audience seemed to get the more sort of Razdaz sort of, oh, look at us, aren't we big and bright and brilliant? Whereas we got just sort of the bog standard is some interviews where half the time we're slagging you off. It was,
and they were on a bus.
I do need to go, folks, because I've had
night, Charlotte.
Bye, Charlotte.
Thank you, Charlotte. And happy 200th show as well, Charlotte. This show would also be completely unimaginable without you too. And so we look forward to.
She speaks the truth. She speaks the truth.
She does. Very wise.
Very much our queen, whether she's here for the duration or not. Catch you later, Charlotte. Good night. Thank you again.
So you're not going to get rid of me that easily, folks.
We love you to bits. Good night. Bye-bye. Take care.
No.
I think also, Dan, I remember us having the conversation before season 1 started, and it was you that said to the panel at the time, you said, look, after the cock up that they'd done with Jodie Whittaker, they really need to come out swinging, get people back on side, do the publicity. This is for everybody. But like you said, straight away, it was cock up after cock up after cock up, because they just wanted to go for the negative publicity. And that's one of the reasons as well why it hasn't done very well, but also the fact that, in my opinion, the quality just wasn't there. I think the difference for me between this and 2005 is 2005 they weren't confident about the product that they were making. They were edgy about it, and there was talk about what was going on at the time.
There was a hunger there as well.
Yeah, and I think this time round, there was almost, in my opinion, there was a complacency where they thought, we're just going to knock it out of the park because, I'm RTD, you're Moffat, it's going to be a banger. And I think that ego grew to starting to insult fans.
You know what's so sad though is that, John, is that they still don't see it. They still don't see that they've made a mistake.
I think
we don't know.
You know what? I think they might. We're going to come to that a little later on.
With the comments that Moffat's still making and that, it's like, he's saying the show isn't woke. Come on.
I just think I just think that they do know, mate. I just think that is all damage limitation, and that's trying to get viewers in for that story. And again,
I don't know. I think they're delusional.
I think they know it, but they're in too deep now, and they're not going to reverse course, unfortunately, unless somebody higher up tells them to do it.
You could be right. Who is higher up? That's what we've got to wonder.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's good to have these AAI figures at last, if I can pronounce it. It's good to have these figures at last. It's, because Doctor Who fans, we don't like sort of gaps in things. We like things sort of neat and tidy, don't we? But when we look at those figures, yes, they're unremarkable. And to be fair to them, that season did finish on a next to high. The Empire of Death, the first part was 81. The finale itself was 80. I hated the finale. So they go, okay, whatever. What do I know? But since it's all that's come to pass, we've now got a figure for the Christmas special as well. Joy to the World. It's just been published. The AAI figure for the latest Christmas special, Christmas 2024, was 76.
Oh dear,
76.
Okay.
Yeah, you may want to hug one another for that one. Yeah, 76. Yeah. So that's one more than Space Babies, to be fair, but it's quite a gap.
And lower than Rogue.
Quite a gap between Empire of Death, the season finale, at 80. Because 4 may not sound like a lot, but it is actually quite a lot when it comes to AI figures. So from the end of season, it went down from 80 to 76 for Joy to the World, right? But when you bear in mind that the previous Christmas special got an 82 to 76 on Christmas Day, because in some respects the audiences are different on Christmas Day. So there's that. You've got that considerable drop on the entire season. But Joy to the World has a far larger audience. Say what we like about the ratings. I believe that Doctor Who has bigger problems than ratings at the moment. But the Christmas Day ratings, more people still, comparatively, pro rata, more people in Britain still watch the Christmas one than any of the other episodes. So it had the larger audience and yet the biggest down vote, 76. Great audience, far lower AAI. That's got to be all kinds, every shade of bad news for this production team to get at this time, any time, come to think of it, John.
Can I ask you, Dan, and everyone else, when you're talking about the BBC, any other point in its history, there would be someone high up in the BBC talking about these figures and the viewing figures and saying, right, we need to reverse course. We need to do something drastic here because it's not engaging with the audience at all. But we're in a very unusual time in history where the BBC at the moment, they just don't seem to do that because they're, that in my opinion, they're
incompetent.
And incompetent. Yeah. And they could change things. They could reverse it. But at the end of the day, they're not going to. They'd rather see it cancelled than actually give the viewers what they want. And
they don't know what the viewers want, mate. They haven't got a clue.
And I've said to you before, if Doctor Who is ever to get back up to a popular level again, it needs a whole new production team. The current lot all need to go because I don't think they've got it in them anymore, regardless of the rhetoric they spew out online. I just don't think they've got the ideas for the stories anymore. I really don't. And it feels tired now, regardless. Put all the woke stuff to the side.
Yeah.
It feels tired now. It really does feel tired. And, I said to you, I didn't watch the Christmas one because I didn't want to, but the ones I watched in that previous season of Shooty's first one, I was like, there's something missing here in these episodes that engages me, regardless of whether I'm a fan of him or not. There was always, in previous eras, there was always something, even if it was a bad episode, there was something you could go to in that story and go, I really like that bit. I really like that. But there was nothing in season one that I liked. And with the exception of, I would say, the penultimate story where I thought they built it up really well. Then, as we know, we got a dog on a TARDIS. But
and your point is,
yeah, exactly, and and it's. I'm not even sure they're trying to craft great stories anymore. It almost seems to be let's go for the lowest level possible, in my opinion.
I'm a fan of both of these gentlemen, Stephen Moffat and Russell T Davies, and I can categorically say I believe they're both spent forces, and they just need to, with the best one in the world, need to depart gracefully now from the show whilst they still can. Matt?
I can see right now in the last year or the last 2 years the reason why they came back to Doctor Who, to use it as a platform. Okay. That's all. Yeah. It's not to bring it back to its core values and everything. It's just simply to preach. And it's unfortunately, we're going to have to deal with another year of this, but I think it's over. And it's that you're right, John. They're putting on a brave face.
Yeah.
Well, they've got to, haven't they, though?
Well, they've got another series to go, you know, and the thing is they can't go around and say, oh, the show's being cancelled, because if you notice, nowadays, they'll wait until the show is actually shown right until about the very last, week or so, and then they'll turn around and say, we're not coming back. And I think that's what they're going to do. I don't know. I don't understand the UK politics for.
I think they'll get a season 3 without Disney, and I just think that.
I've got some news on that to come to in a little while.
And the reason I say that, guys, is that I think what they'll do is they'll just go, right, we're going to try and do it on our own. But one thing, sadly, I know I already will probably get, if they get another series, it'll be the big bad will be, a monster that's basically based on Trump or something like that, because they can't let it go, sadly.
The love affair with Disney, though, is over.
Yeah.
There's no more going to be with Disney. They're not going to be with Disney. If they're with Disney, I would be concerned.
I have got some news about all this, but you're quite right. I mean, Doctor Who will return, as I said a moment ago. There's a whole season of this stuff banked up.
This is why you've got to watch this show and stay to the end. You see, because Dan comes out with these breaking news, so that's why you got to stick around.
Well, these are only personal opinions, anyway. So.
So there's a whole season banked up. We don't know when it's premiering. There's no clear date, and from what I hear, even that is in flux, as they say. Oh, terrible pun. Oh, yes. So 8 further adventures, though this time with more new writers in the mix. More on them near the time, I think, when all of that becomes clearer and more official. But Ruby's out. Ruby's out, if you remember, or is she? There's absolutely a new girl along for the ride too. A new woman, I should say. Definitely a woman. I'm waiting and watching for that very, very closely. Attention for now, though, is on the more sort of basic matters, really. It's as nice as it is to see nice new publicity pictures and smiling faces. And there's some good promotional images kicking around too, and a trailer. But there's other things sort of out there, whispers, things that I've been hearing about for some months. At Type 40, we've never just raced to the screen and the mics with every little bit of tittle-tattle that we hear for several reasons. Chiefly, though, because we appreciate that you trust us. Historically, we've got a next to impeccable hit rate. Not everything that happens or that's said does and will come to pass. All these things change all the time because it's that kind of industry, isn't it, Simon? It's high powered. A lot of money changes hands, and the more cooks that are in the kitchen, the more likely a broth is going to be spoilt or some food is going to end up the walls, isn't it?
And also, truth be told, it can change as literally at the last minute. Programs can be pulled at the last minute. Programs can suddenly be rescheduled or put out in a graveyard slot at the last minute. So this is the thing with the television industry; it's constantly in flux, and so there's very little certainty. Television programs that I've worked on, we've still been trimming shots out of the day of broadcast, the day of transmission, that as unusual unusual as that is, it's not impossible. It does happen. So people need to understand that things can change on a sixpence, as they say in the television industry.
And also, there's the reality that, you know, we can sort of demonize people, and sometimes with good reason, but there are good and decent people who work on these series, regardless of what we think of the public figures that we see and hear from the most. There are people who are doing a good job, and we don't necessarily want to make that harder. We don't want to.
Well, they're doing their jobs at the end of the day, Dan. They're just working. They're trying to earn you know, it's okay for us to make fun of them, but they're just trying to earn a crust at the end of the day, pay the bills, like all of us.
We are now some of the sets you see in the shows are superb, aren't they? So
absolutely,
not these people.
Yeah,
there's great craftsmanship.
Hundreds of people work on any film or TV show, but we are now at a place where several independent sources have come forward to us with versions of the same thing, pointing in to a very clear or clearish picture of what's alleged to have gone on, a set of events that sort of detailed to various degrees, to the point where we now feel that the responsible thing for us to do is to tell you what we can as things currently stand. And we know only too well the big question that's on people's mind does concern the leading actor. You know, because Doctor Who, it's very much powered, isn't it, by its leading man. Sort of, if that person isn't inhabiting that role, then we haven't got a Doctor Who, have we? He may be all smiles, even in the new pictures, but is Ncuti Gatwa gone, if not literally? Then, sort of career-wise, has he checked out? Is he halfway out the door? Whatever. I think a lot of indications would seem to suggest a distance that's there, a professional distance. But things aren't always as they seem with this stuff, as we've just said. And so we don't just want to sort of mindlessly speculate, as fun as a lot of this is. But yeah, I think it's only fair to state now, as I understand it, here and now, Disney are out with a completion of the delivery of the episodes of the spin-off series, The War Between the Land and the Sea. That is it. And Disney are out of the entire deal. The Disney and Bad Wolf kind of love affair is over. Relations have been strained between not just Bad Wolf and and Disney Plus, but also between Bad Wolf and Disney. Bad Wolf and the BBC, basically everyone. And this has been pretty much since the deal was put into place, but it's got increasingly bad since last summer, as I understand it. The BBC does intend on continuing with Doctor Who. That is, as I understand it, next to certain. But what they wish to find now is a new global streaming platform home. That is desirable. I would imagine they want to maintain a comparative budget, Simon, and save some face as well, because they've spent the last 2 years telling us that this is such a big deal. This is what they wanted. So perhaps that's what a lot of the silence is about, shopping it around. Basically, I don't know, between now and then, whenever then may be, because they're giving themselves quite a big, increasingly wide then to play with, aren't they? And they don't have to publicly tell us anything, even license fee payers, do they? And that they don't with other productions. Doctor Who is no different on their books, is it?
No, not at all. And we kind of forget that because, of course, we feel so passionately about it. And there is no television programme, really, that's more scrutinised than Doctor Who. There's plenty that are as scrutinised. Game of Thrones, for example, that you know, all those kind of, well, truth be told, sort of niche genre kind of shows are the ones that are scrutinised more so than anything. And as I say, Doctor Who, none more so. But that's just on our part. There's no obligation for them to tell anybody anything, and it would be ridiculous for them to do so. At the end of the day, it's the same as we've just said. You know, the people that are working on the show are just working on the show and are trying to earn a living and pay the bills. And in the same way, the BBC is a business, and it's trying to strike a business deal. And that's the same as any major corporation, any major industrial body trying to strike a deal. Of course it's going to be kept under wraps. Of course they have to be careful what they say, and it's not going to be open to public scrutiny. And quite rightly, why would we expect it to be any different? It's just that Doctor Who, it brings out passions in people, that people care about the show and are interested and wants to know what's going on. But that's the only reason Doctor Who is any different.
Yeah, so just to restate this, Disney Plus are out. As we understand it, our sources are telling us Disney Plus are out. They will produce, co-produce, or distribute any further Doctor Who material connected with the Whoniverse brand past the war between the land and the sea. No more Christmas specials, and no third season either. The BBC, they intend on continuing with Doctor Who. A third season of Doctor Who is very much, in their opinion, not just desirable, essential. They view, obviously, because domestically, we can look at the ratings and we see a certain picture. We look back 15, 16, 17 years, we see how far they've fallen. But the truth of the matter is that when you look at the ratings for Christmas or for last year, the ratings are no worse than the general TV landscape in Britain. The British TV landscape has a ratings problem, generally speaking, not just Doctor Who. Doctor Who has bigger problems than its ratings. We've got this Christmas Day. This is the Christmas Day top 10 there, and there's Doctor Who sitting very nicely at number 4, with that's the only 3 shows above it are the biggest drama on British TV, and 2 huge television events.
Yes.
So realistically, Simon, if we take
it held its own.
Yeah. So you can see why the BBC aren't looking to exit anytime soon, why they maybe even need a season 3, because Doctor Who is still probably the most valuable potential moneymaker IP.
Do you know what I would also say? I think, where they're looking for this global partner, like they did with Disney, right? What I would be looking at, first of all, I would be going, right, for people in Australia, we're going to get that original deal that had been around since the 60s back, where people don't have to buy a subscription to go and watch Doctor Who. Just because you want to get a bit of PR, you want to promote the show again, you want people back on board. And I think there's an objection to people wanting to subscribe to a platform to watch Doctor Who. I think there is
a possibility too, just to go on from that, John, with the ABC, is the fact that they could also help. They're very much the mirror of BBC over there. Here in Australia, so they are the voice, the left of the left sort of thing as well. So I think that they would be more than happy to co-fund a new series as well. So because they know it is it's not as popular as what it was, but they know that the Doctor Who brand is almost as big in the UK, as it is here, sort of thing. So. I could see that happening.
Yeah,
and maybe Matt, between the broadcast of season 2 and the season 3, maybe they could look at the way in the format in which it's delivered. Just as Richard's suggesting here, so season 3 should be dumped in a block of episodes. Maybe it could be delivered in a different way, maybe through the iPlayer. I don't know, but it's a long time between now and then. But you'd like to think that they could go back and think again and look again. I don't know, particularly if they're looking for a new streaming home. Matrix Lord 212 is in the live chat and says that Disney is still on board. No, they're not. Matrix Lord, Disney are out. Season 3 will not be on Disney Plus. They're out. It's done. They tried to resurrect it in the US for some events, and it kept deflating, says Demorpin, getting obliterated by by wind and half drowning in the ocean. Yet, as I understand it, Doctor Who as an IP remains dead in America, despite the presence on Disney Plus. It doesn't appear to have done it any favours at all. That's not necessarily surprising, is it, Ian? Because there's so much content on just like Netflix, Amazon. There's so much content on all of these streaming platforms, and Doctor Who is one of a plethora of shows fighting for people's attention. I don't think it's done necessarily that badly on Disney Plus. Only they know what their expectations were. But you think, well, if it's come with all these other headaches as well, perhaps that's why they called it a day. It's impossible to say, isn't it? But you can see how it could get lost as well in the mix with all those shows.
I think, I mean, there's a heck of a lot of material out there. That's the truth of it. You know, you look at the Netflix and the Amazon Primes of this world, and there's just so much content. And so anything, not just Doctor Who, everything has to rise above mediocrity. It just has to, because otherwise it'll just vanish. And so that's the thing. Doctor Who, it's like anything else. It's got to have something a little bit more now just to rise above, or it is just in this wave of a little more
when you've got Shooty Gatwa
grinning and crying.
This is the main problem with the show at the moment, and this is the thing. It needs to regenerate again. It's just silly.
Looks like
now.
it, doesn't it?
And it's just and I don't understand contracts and all that. Simon may have a better idea on those sort of things, but I always was of the understanding there are 3-year contracts.
The thing is with contracts. Normally, I haven't got a clue what the contracts are going to be on Doctor Who, to be clear, but normally with most contracts within television and film, there's normally a get out clause. It's not normally a case that you are tied in, and certainly in every standard contract that I have ever worked with within television, I don't know whether, Ian, you've got different experiences. There is always a clause in there that basically says we reserve the right to not make this, or certainly if we make it, to not broadcast it. So what I'm trying to say, Matt, is that in standard television and film contracts, there's no guarantee that whatever the contract says, there's no guarantee that it will be made, it will be broadcast, and you will be booked for that period. Normally, Simon, there's some sort of get out.
We live in an age where they can film an entire Batgirl movie and it not be released.
Yeah, and to be clear, you'd be paid off. You would be paid off. Yeah. They wouldn't just say we're not doing this. That was my next question. No, you'd have to be paid off. Your contract would still stand, but what the broadcaster or the producer, whatever it is not committing to doing is making it. They're committing to book you, so anybody could be booked for 3 years, and they would then have to be paid for that full 3 years. But there would be no guarantee that what you had been booked to do would happen.
Yeah, I seriously hope, guys, that when they're talking about, and you said, Dan, about they're looking for new partners and whatnot, I hope that there's someone there. Yeah, I hope that there's someone there that's looking at the basics and going, it doesn't matter how many partners we have around the world. If the scripts aren't good, if the actors aren't good, it's just not going to work.
I suspect, John, I don't know. I suspect that if they were to find a new partner, because you're right, there are going to be lots of new partners out there. I suspect if they do manage to find a new partner, I wouldn't be surprised if that new partner would insist on an entirely clean slate, new production team, new.
They'd be within their rights, wouldn't they? They'd definitely be within their rights.
Of course, they
said would. I'd be very surprised if the BBC can afford to continue. Oh, yes, they can. Make no mistake. Let me just. The BBC, they've spent decades pleading poverty.
Yeah,
they are perfectly well off for money. They've got the BBC itself, the British Broadcasting Corporation, and BBC Studios, their nice little scheme, which is basically a commercial operation. The BBC are loaded. They're more than capable of producing an international standard drama in this genre to a reasonable standard independently. But of course, it does represent to not do so with an international partner. And to be honest, they have mostly had international partners on Doctor Who since it came back. It was originally with a Canadian company, if you recall. So they're gonna want somebody there because it gives it purchase. It propels it a little more, and that investment's never gonna be a bad thing. But believe me, the BBC can afford it. Matrix Lord says that Bad Wolf has job advertisements for a script editor and a runner of a long-running returning series. They've got several returning series, Matrix Lord. And anyway, Doctor Who is remaining with Bad Wolf. They've still got a couple of years left on their deal to make Doctor Who. Bad Wolf are in. It's just Disney Plus that are out. Ian,
you know what? Seriously, the problem is not finding a partner. The problem is the BBC. It doesn't matter if you get a partner, whether it's
you and I know that,
or Amazon. It doesn't matter. The problem.
The culture at the BBC is bad.
BBC, right? And if they do get commissioned for a third, like 2 years later, somebody comes in, whatever, it's still going to have the same crap. It's going to have. Yeah. They're either going to cast a woman as the Doctor or a man of color as the Doctor. It's going to have the same rubbish because that's what the BBC is all about. So to me, that's the main problem. That's always going to be the problem going forward, unless the BBC changes their agenda stuff the
alleged breakdown. The alleged breakdown, Ian, in sort of professional conduct between the parties that we've been hearing about for quite a long time, to tell you the truth. Everything that's alleged, that will have made its way through the entire industry, wouldn't it? And so, as the Zero Room says, they'll ask any potential streaming home or production partner of any kind would ask to look at the books. I've heard this, I've heard that. It's not reasonable. You'd do that going into business with anybody, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but again, I would state, right, the problem is not anything. It's the BBC. That's the main problem. Unless, right, look, the majority of people want Doctor Who back. Doctor Who is a man from Cambridge or Oxford. He really is, right? And he's in a blue box and he has adventures and he goes around. That's what Doctor Who is, right? To give us anything else other than that is not Doctor Who, as far as the BBC's. That's what the BBC is not going to give us, even if they do find another.
But
Matrix Lord is right about this. The people will be the last to know. You're right about that.
I suppose the other option that might happen. You're correct, Ian.
License fee payers will be the last.
What might happen is that a streaming service, a partner, might come along and say to the BBC, look, it can't be done your way.
I hope so. Yeah.
So in effect, they just simply might. I think there's a reasonable chance that another streaming service simply won't accept what Disney accepted. I think they might insist on, no, it's going to have to be done differently this time, which is why.
Right.
I think. Do you think, John? I think they might look at it and they might say exactly what you're saying, Ian. Which is, this is what the core of the show is. This is what Doctor Who is. You've basically, they might accuse the BBC of basically throwing the baby out with the bathwater and saying, right, now we insist it comes back to basics. It goes back to what it was, and that's what we want. Or we simply haven't got a deal. That's what we want to buy from you. Yeah. You either give us that, or we're not interested. So
I think you're 100% right, Simon. I agree with you on that. I think also we're in a very interesting time at the moment, which isn't good for the BBC because they're going to be the last ones that hold out of all of this diversity nonsense. But Hollywood, and I've seen many reports of late, Disney turning around and changing direction, and coming more into the center with stuff.
Yeah.
Other companies are doing exactly the same. So you're right, Simon. If they go to another company and go, right, we want a co-production with you, that company is going to say, well, we'll only do it, but we're not having any of that nonsense in it.
Yes.
You're toning that right down.
So just to recap, because I need to move on and get to the second half of what I've been told. So so Disney are out, Disney Plus are out. It will no longer be the global streaming home for Doctor Who after the war between the land and the sea. No further seasons, no Christmas special. There's no Christmas special for 2025 banked up. Nothing's filmed there. And a lot has changed since last summer and now, according to our sources. But Doctor Who remains with Bad Wolf. Ncuti Gatwa, is he gone? As I understand it, according to our sources, Ncuti Gatwa remains in place. However, there has, and he did sign a contract for a third season, and they've got an option on him for a fourth, or at least they did.
Yeah.
However, there has allegedly been conflict there too. It's alleged, it's described to us at Type 40 that the actor has struggled with the schedule and the culture on the show, on the production, with several reports alleging he's often unsure of his lines and keeps very distant from most colleagues. For a time, it did seem that he wasn't going to remain on the show at all after a supposed blow-up, huge falling out between the star and producers and higher ups. I have no details, no firm details on that, on who said what to who, if any ultimatums were issued, if anybody. I don't know how far it went, but I do know that the relationship did break down, but it appears to have been mended. Millie Gibson also struggled with the demands of her part as Ruby Sunday. I think we all know that that's pretty accepted. As a regular cast member, she, it's alleged that she couldn't hack it. She couldn't hack the night shoots, didn't want to do that, and was allegedly not available a great deal of the time to record pickups. So whenever they could record with an extra in a wig or just a blonde extra, then they do that. But yeah, Ncuti Gatwa remains in place on Doctor Who. They want him to stay on the show, at least for the time being. And season 3, as things currently stand, is happening, but it will not be with the involvement of Disney Studios, Disney Plus. Bad Wolf will still be making it. Russell T Davies and Ncuti Gatwa. Your thoughts, gentlemen?
Well, that's a big waste of time, isn't it? If Bad Wolf is still going to have Ncuti, which people don't like, majority, should I say, people don't like.
He's definitely not taken off, has he, Ian? Most people couldn't pick this guy out of a bus queue.
No, seriously, this isn't Doctor Who. I don't even know why I'm talking about it. I've come here to talk about Doctor Who, and this is not Doctor Who. Anyway, carry on, guys.
I know, I feel the same.
But here we are, though, a year on, and this man is not the basic fact of the matter is we're a year on since he first debuted properly in the role. This man is not a star. Most people have no idea who he is, don't know his name. He's not a celebrity. I imagine he's still got quite a following on social media platforms, but he's not made it, has he, Simon? He's not David Tennant.
I was just about to say he's not taken off in the way that David Tennant took off. I still think that there is an argument here for the BBC to make Series 3. I'm still going to go out on a limb here. I'm still saying there will be no Series 3 for quite a while. I think there will be a very, very hefty break between season 2 and 3, and to the extent where it won't even really be season 3. It will be back to season 1 for the 4th time.
They did intend on beginning filming, and originally quite soon, but that has not been the case for several months.
And this is
as I understand it, they're not filming again until a lot later in 2024.
And this is where I think
25,
I think this might go one of two ways. I think if and when there is a season 3, series 3, whatever, if it's BBC alone, then maybe they will they'll keep Ncuti Gatwa and they'll keep Russell T Davies, etc. I think I would go out on a limb and say that if they get a streaming partner who's going to put a lot of money in, I wonder whether that streaming partner might insist, as I say, on new people in front of and behind the camera.
It's possible, isn't it? Matrix Lord says the 2025 Christmas special was filmed with season 2. I don't wish to be the bearer of bad tidings. That's not true. There's no further Christmas special has been filmed. And it's possible they could commence filming production. I'm not saying there's no script, but a further Christmas special has not been filmed. As things currently stand, they have still got time, but obviously that window's closing all the time. John?
I agree with Simon. I hope Simon's right that we don't see season 3 or 1.8.87 or whatever it is for a while, because for me, I feel that Doctor Who needs a long rest. There's so much damage that's been done to it the last few years. There's so much mess that's involved with it. It just needs to go away, and it needs to get adults back in the room to actually say, right, okay, I remember years ago they used to have like show Bibles where they used to, this is more US, but they used to talk about, right, these are the rules you follow.
Yeah, it's called a Bible.
Yes.
Yeah,
oh, really?
TV show Bible.
Yeah, it is. It's a Bible.
And they would follow that. So when you pitched it to a company over and said, work with us, you stuck within those rules, but they threw all the rules out with this current era, and it's just made a mess of it. And I think you need fresh blood in there. And I think if it's still Gatwa, if it's still Russell T Davies, if it's still Moffat involved, that production team, you're going to get the same again, unfortunately. Even
Can
if
you
they
believe it, John?
Yeah.
Can you believe? Right, we've only had, I was going to say seen. I know you guys haven't really seen, but we've only been screened 10 episodes with this actor. It's nearly 3 years since Shooter Gatwa was announced as the new Doctor, as the 15th Doctor. 3 years, 10 episodes.
Yeah.
And he's rubbish.
It is, and again, when he's saying that, he's finding the schedule tiring, and he had 2 Doctor Light stories in that first season. There's rumours of another Doctor Light story, isn't there? For
there is. Yeah,
and again,
why? Hold on. There's a contract that's been signed, Rob. Why would they make him sign a contract if he wasn't fully available in that contract? I mean, Simon, fill me in here. You don't write contracts like that. They must be really to actually make him sign a contract where he's not available and he has to go off somewhere. This whole thing stinks. The whole thing stinks. Anyway, listen, this is not Doctor Who.
And again, is it because there's someone in power that only wanted that particular actor due to
maybe you're onto something there, John.
That was why. But I think, look, we talked about it before. When the 60th came back, pretty much all of us were hoping it was going to turn it around and it was going to be great.
Yeah,
again.
of course.
We were all excited, weren't we? And we were so buzzing for the new stories, but they just kicked the fans in the teeth by doubling down and doubling down and doubling down again. And it's until they go, it's not going to change. And sorry, that's my rant.
Corbin reminds us in the live chat of old friend of ours there, Simon Corbin.
Yeah,
says,
Corbin, hello, Corbin.
And Nicola Bryant were paid for the Unmade season 23 back in 85, 86. That is an option. Matrix Lord again asks, is this an opinion? No, this is information from our sources here. Tried, trusted sources, several sources here at Type 40. And as I said earlier on, we have a next to impeccable hit rate. We don't just bring anything to the screen on this show.
I think the thing is, I do believe that Doctor Who does need a rest for the reasons that John says, and also simply because the public need to want it back again. If you think back to 2005, the lead up 2005, people wanted that show back. It was voted, wasn't it, in surveys as the show that people most wanted back on their screens.
Yeah, that was us.
Yeah. So there was a hunger for it, and the hunger for Doctor Who needs to come back again. So there are people out. That's what I mean. So there are people out there that are thoroughly enjoying this version of Doctor Who, and for them, I'm very, very happy. But the only way that Doctor Who is going to get to the kind of stellar heights that it was at under Tennant, during the Tennant years, is for the public and yes, the fans to get that hunger back to want Doctor Who back on the screen. And so that's why I think it needs a break, so that it goes away long enough for people.
I couldn't agree more. Babette Bombshell in the live chat says Disney will not allow another streaming service to fill their position. It seems that Disney don't care. Disney have offloaded other shows.
They don't care about a lot of these shows.
Very happily, Matt. I mean, for example, if it was Bluey, maybe they'd fight for it.
They are more than happy that, they own IPs that they are more than happy to just wipe off the entire streaming service and not even offer it to anyone else.
Yeah.
So,
Willow.
but I've been thinking since Simon, talked about, I finally got some, information about the contracts and everything like that. I think with the possibility, I always thought it was like a 3-year contract and that was it. So that's for you to say that there's that fourth possible, they have that thing is the fact that
there's always options on a lot of
there's always
options
in
these things.
And to be clear, we don't know. To be clear, I don't know what those options are, so I'm not speculating. All I am saying is there's normally a get out clause that they don't have to make it.
If that's the case, also is that they may also option that fourth time for him to come back next year, maybe. I don't know when that contract was signed or anything like that. So this is just my opinion and
again, right, and Simon agrees, right? What kind of inept lawyer signs this contract that Ncuti won't be there for the full season? And I agree with John. Maybe it's because Russell T wanted him, and even though he couldn't do the full season yet, he kind of like made them write this contract so that it could fit in with his schedule.
And it was an odd decision.
He was going to be the next big thing. And
that's what that's what I think. The thing is, though, again, when I saw the first episode, the Christmas special, I knew the guy couldn't act, and that was it. I was out after that. But Doctor Who, right? You're right. It needs to rest. Okay, it needs to rest, but the problem is it being resting. I hope it doesn't rest for too long, because I'll be dead by the time it comes back. So
you'll definitely have your bus pass.
Fans will be as well.
Just to lighten the mood a little bit, I want to just highlight this moment in the recent Christmas special, which I thought was bloody awful. This did make me laugh, though. There's a great moment here where Ncuti got to show a little bit of charisma here with this moment with the plunger. I really did like that. The rest of it I thought was absolute shite. Some people are having a really hard time with this. I'm not trying to upset anybody. I know that if you're really invested, if you're enjoying it, we don't relish passing on any of this stuff. In fact, we've held on to some of it for quite a time. But there comes a time where you've just simply got to say something. Matrix Lord suggests there's a big thing you're missing with Trump in office and Disney Plus, an American company. Russell will have to obey the rules. There's no logic behind that statement at all, Matrix Lord. It's nothing to do with Donald Trump or being America. It's bears no weight on this decision regarding a simple production of a single TV show. Doesn't come into it at all. But Matrix Lord does say that Russell T Davies has promised a Christmas special every year, guaranteed. Yes, well, sort of. He did make some promises. Russell's made a few promises. Again, though, people do things do change. So Russell said this a couple of years ago. It takes a while to get the empire in shape, but that's a serious plan. Oh, to be fair, he does say plan. Annual Doctor Who, no gap years, lots of content. On and on. This was a couple of years ago now, and he apologised for the drop in episode count too, but says give us time. We have plans, and that's a promise. But again, the word plan. To be fair, there's only so far. In all fairness to the gentleman, there's only so much we can hold him to. When he uses the word plan, Simon, I want to be fair.
Yeah, he's not. There's no guarantee there. It is a plan.
That's not a guarantee.
Right. Of course, they're going to have a plan. Any TV series is made with a plan. Any film is, but everything is worked to a plan. So it's fair enough. Yeah, you've got to cut him slack there. He's not promising anything that he hasn't delivered. In all honesty.
He's screwed up, Doctor Who.
Crimpling Doubloon says, I don't like saying this, but I'm sick of the sight of him. Well,
which one?
Which one of us?
All three.
It's worn me down. I've given this guy more days in court than most. I enjoyed some of the last season. I thought the Christmas special was pretty terrible. I don't enjoy passing on information like this as received by our sources here at Type 40, because none of us want Doctor Who to flounder, and we all believed in it. And even though I don't really think it could have got into bed with Disney at a worse time, in all fairness, this time last year, a year and a half ago, we all felt rather differently, didn't we? Obviously, the war between the land and the sea is yet to come. Things could turn around for this spin-off, the 6-part spin-off series coming maybe later this year, according to info, something that leaked onto Reddit earlier this week. I suppose we'll just have to wait and see, but we'll be watching very carefully as always here at Type 40 Live. I've got no information about that at all, other than what has made it through to Reddit and to X. So we will see all together. Is Ncuti Gatwa gone? You know, there are reports that he's filmed a regeneration scene already. That's not what our sources are saying at all. Our sources, for the time being, say that Gatwa's not gone. That they intend on him remaining in the role for a little while yet. But who's to know?
I don't think they'd let go of him so quickly.
They're doubling down, and again, the what I call the RTD activism. You know, he's in it up to his neck as well. He's on side with it. So they're going to keep doing what they do. They would rather see it cancelled than reverse course, because they want to push out what they want to say to the world, which is 2 to 3 years behind the times, in my opinion.
And
yes, so
am I
obviously,
right to say how many years was Chibnall and Whittaker in the role? Because I never watched any of that. That was about 6 years.
About 3, was it?
It felt like it was about 48, but it was it was between on screen between 2018 and 2022. But obviously, it wrapped up. It actually wrapped up well over a year before it was filmed, because the series, again, Doctor Who was cancelled. New Doctor Who was cancelled in 2021. It ran from, but Jodie was cast in 2017, so you know it's like three to 4 years, something like that.
I mean, we still might have a year or something.
Has it been like
like a bad
10
part.
years since we had good Doctor Who or something like that? Been over? Is it 10 years or less than 10 years?
Would you parole?
Probably, but we're not supposed to talk about that, right, Auntie Beeb? No, we're not supposed to talk about that at all. Look, we're really, so that's what we've heard. That's what our sources, multiple sources, tell us here at Type 40 Live. You know, take with a pinch of salt if you like. Other sources may tell other people completely different things, but we don't just race to the screen here with everything that we get told. We'll be watching and keenly waiting and letting you know when we can. Anything else that we see and hear. I'm looking forward to meeting Belinda, as played by Varada Sethu. At least. Other than that, I don't know. I think it's all looking like more of the same. But we want to know what you think about all of this, everything we've talked about on this edition of the show, but particularly the idea that Ncuti Gatwa will remain with the show, even with Disney Plus exiting. According to all our sources here at Type 40 Live, we're all ears for anything that you have to say in the comments section, as always. What next? I think we haven't heard from them yet, have we?
This is the Type 40 podcast. You will be exterminated.
Yeah, the year of the Scorpion. Yeah, and those are the Daleks that we're going to get to see in Doctor Who Meets the Scorpion later in 2025 with Philip Roy as Doctor Who, no less, Simon. So at least we know there's some quality stuff coming our way.
Looking forward to it. Bring it on.
When Philip Roy said earlier about that they've brought back bubble wrap for that series, the Scorpion series, is he teasing that there's going to be Wirren in it as well?
I bet he's not.
Please.
Maybe that's one of the spoilers, because he keeps saying he's got some surprises. He keeps saying, Matt, he's got some surprises for hardcore fans up his sleeve. So we'll have to wait and see, won't we?
And you know what that's called? That's called Easter eggs, and that's really cool. I love that. My Doctor. That's something we haven't had for a long time.
The Zero Room in the live chat. The BBC and Russell T Davies said the decision wouldn't be made until series 2 has aired. I always doubted Disney would wait. Of course, they're not going to wait that long. And I don't think the BBC say something, or was it Russell? I don't know. But things do change. Things do change, some sometimes no matter where you lay one particular turd, it's always going to stink. If season 2 sucks, it's game over, says Lee Smith. Not necessarily.
So we said that after season 1.
Doctor Who is potentially simply worth too much money. Retro Doc Gary Akers is still waiting on that Yaz Chronicles miniseries spin-off. You never know.
She's in a movie, isn't she? She's the girl who plays Yaz is in this new movie coming out.
Yeah, sci-fi film as well, I think.
Oh, is she? Okay.
Yeah, she's not.
Yeah.
Like supporting. But yeah.
Yeah, Shutigatwa is about to finish, or I think he's just finished. I think he finishes at the end of the week in the importance of being earnest. So that is the one where he's been appearing mostly trouserless, as I understand.
The strange thing is, he's not even playing Ernest, which shocked me. He's playing another character, and yet the focus is on him.
The sad thing is, he looks more Doctor in that than he has in the entire series of Doctor Who.
They're not having the pants. There you go.
Well, they've given him eccentric hair, haven't they? Which I think does count for a lot. We need a Bluey and K9 team up show. Says Retro Doc,
definitely.
Gary Akers.
They're doing a movie now. They're doing a movie.
Bluey the movie. I've seen a few Bluey movies in my time, but it's probably not one. And so has David Southall, I suspect. Way back in the day, David. Good to see you, mate. My old mate, David Southall there. And who else is here? Pod Racing Palpatine's back as well. Long time Type 40 Live supporter. Great to have you here with us for show 200. David says, I agree, Dan. I finally caught up on the whole season this week. I was ill, so I had nothing better to do, and it was awful, says David.
And now you're more ill.
Not so happy New Year, David. Good to hear from you, mate. So get in touch soon. Russell T. Davis promised no gap years. He did. He said that was the plan. To be fair, I suppose.
They say things. And,
People say a lot of things. Yeah. I said this was only going to be 10 shows here, and we did 200 later. Fucking hell. We've got Jeremy Musical in the live chat too. Says, notice how Russell T. Davies uses the word fight yet again, fighting, which leads to greater further division. Fighting, which is what war is. Fighting which never involves peaceful means. Russell T. Davies, man of war, says Jeremy. I see what you're saying. It is adversarial. Is the tone I'm getting, Simon, from the people not just making the series but often starring in it as well.
But it often go on. Sorry, Matt.
No, you go, Simon.
No, I was just going to say it does often sort of feel a little bit like that. Well, it certainly felt like that since the return of Russell T. Davies and the announcement of Shooting Out, and that it feels a little bit like we've been beaten. We feel like we're being beaten into submission rather than wooed with good stuff. That does feel how it feels to me.
The turning point for this isn't for the fans, for us, was the whole Davros Gate thing. As soon as that turned around, it was like, oh, okay. Oh, this doesn't dwell well. This is more like what we were getting more of, Yeah.
The thing is, though, we do have diversity. Even before all this crap started, the BBC was really good with diversity in their shows. They had mixed people, they had people of color and stuff like that. What this bunch of people want is domination. That's what they want. They don't want diversity. They want to dominate the whole of pop culture with the way they see things. And that's where everything's going wrong, because people don't want to see things like this, especially in kids' shows. So they are going to stay away. Once they see it, they'll stay away.
One thing I'm very interested in is the demographic and where the current Doctor Who is popular. Where is current Doctor Who popular? Is it more popular on
Jupiter,
Disney Plus?
maybe?
Or is it on... Well, this is what I'm saying. But I mean, as far as what country it's streaming in with Disney Plus, because Disney's got the rights for it, which one is actually, I mean, it could be it could be somewhere in Africa or somewhere like that. They're not looking at those sort of demographics either. They're thinking that they're making it for everybody, and they're not.
I think I've said before, this is a problem where you have production teams and writers' rooms where everybody thinks the same way. The reason you have great shows and you have great stories, you have great movies, is the fact you have people that don't think the same as you that also come into those production and writing rooms. You have that creative tension that creates something fantastic. Now what you're seeing is certain teams are saying, no, we're just having these people in to write for our show, and that's where you have the problem. And until that gets addressed in the next few years, I think you're going to see a lot more shows still doing this sort of stuff.
Well, Russell T was the one that was writing these. Was he writing the majority? Wasn't he, Simon?
He wrote
Yes,
pretty much all of it. Yeah.
So that's where the problem is, I guess.
Well, no, because the bits that he's actually letting the other writers that he's letting in have no idea of Doctor Who.
Oh, it's
they
true.
don't understand Doctor Who. So they've just written what they think, oh, this has been missing from this series, you know. So they've inserted it in. So, and that's where it's all fallen apart as far as
where they're going wrong, Matt? You know where they're going wrong? Where they've probably been going wrong for the last 4 years or so.
I'm waiting for the segue. What?
They've not been watching 200 editions of Type 40 Live. We've been telling them the whole time. Everybody, we've told them over and over again the whole time. If they haven't listened by now, they never will. We've been extracting some truth here at Type 40 Live. Thank you to everybody in the comments there, as always.
Make sure you watch Type 40 or the universe will crash on you.
How else could we round all this off without a last look right up your temporal schism in search of the prettiest pictures from out there in the Whoniverse, the inspired or the outrageous, the traditional or the digital, crafty or cosplay. It's all fair game to get up on the walls here at the TARDIS. They're so big, so blank, so bleeding horrible. I've gone right off this TARDIS. Did I mention it? I've gone right off the TARDIS.
You liked it, Dan.
I loved it. It's since somebody in the live chat pointed out how cheap and nasty the railings are. I can't get past it now.
Yeah, true.
And they won't do anything to it. They won't fill it up. They won't do anything interesting with it. It's such a crying shame.
They look like the disability ones that people use. So maybe that was what they were planning to do, so that they could have people, you know, with disabilities.
Oh, the ramps. Oh, gotcha. Well, I did wonder were they going to bring back K9 or they're going to do I don't know. Maybe not. Who knows? Yes. So fan art. That's what we like to plaster these walls with. That's how we get by here at Type 40 Live. That's how we roll. We also roll on the podcasts, of course, so you can get our review of Joy to the World. That's available across all major podcatchers, so the Audibles, the Spotifys, the Amazon Musics, all those places, as a conventional podcast in your ears, or the video version is right here on the Type 40 YouTube and Rumble channel, so you can see us as well as hear us in an enhanced form. No little blue pills involved either. It's all au naturel. And so knock yourselves out there with Type 40's review of Joy to the World. But why I wanted to mention that is because of this piece of artwork. There's been lots of great fan artwork coming out of A Terrible Christmas Special. And my favourite is this one from Rafe Warbank. This is his Joy to the World artwork. Rafe's a superb digital artist, in my view, who blends a real sense of knowing his craft of old-style traditional illustration with a mastery of modern techniques and, probably just as importantly, a sense and eye for the real magic of Doctor Who. I know not many of you watched this particular episode, but I think this captures it quite nicely. One of the better moments in a really shitty episode, really.
It's a lovely piece of artwork.
Can I ask you, are you the only one on this panel that's actually watched this besides you?
It looks like it. No, Charlotte's gone, yeah.
I was going to say...
I can't really comment on it, mate.
No, well, all I can comment is say it's a beautiful piece of artwork. I absolutely love it as a piece of artwork.
So talented.
Very, very talented. I have no idea sort of how it relates to the Christmas special, because I haven't seen it either. But it's a lovely piece of artwork. I don't know how much of this is from Rafe's own brain, or how is this just recreating a scene from
photo manipulation with. It's mostly photo manipulation with digital art techniques, digital painting. So he's added things. He's added quite a lot. The more I look. He's added a hell of a lot. The more I look at this, this is really clever. Yeah, well done, Rafe.
It's more interesting than what the BBC's been pumping out. That's for sure. As far as promotional.
Is this just sort of a depiction of a scene from the Christmas special?
Yes.
Dan? Is that what? Okay.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Well, two scenes, I suppose, which he's sort of spliced together to make them look like mirror. Yeah, it's very different moments from the episode, and the moment on the left was very amusing and whimsical and very Doctor Who. The moment on the right was bloody ridiculous and completely inappropriate for Christmas Day.
Okay, but there we go. Well, it's lovely piece of artwork.
What's on the paper? What's on the newspaper about skeletons? Is that to do with the episode or what, Dan?
I'll tell you later. So, yes, congratulations, Rafe, on another incredible piece of artwork. Another favourite artist of ours over, God, I think through the entire life of the show, has been the illustrator Oliver Arkenstall-Jones. And his latest horror pastiche poster in a long-standing series, it celebrates a story that you won't find many people who don't adore this. I can't give a better build-up, really, to his take on the caves of Androzani.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's just beautiful.
That's quality.
It is quality, isn't it?
Yeah.
Breathtaking, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's just super. That's one of his best.
What we're talking about. This is Doctor Who.
Yeah,
the colours, the typography, even the creases, the fold lines. It's also perfectly balanced.
It is the colour. I love the way he's chosen red, because actually the Caves of Androzani is not remotely red. There's very little red in the Caves of Androzani, but it works beautifully. You kind of want to see the CGI version of the. I want to see some CGI effects on the Caves of Androzani to make it look like that. It's just beautiful.
Fantastic.
Holic says,
"Is that
that's
Peter
superb.
Davison? Sorry, is that Peter Davison when he's sitting down in the
spaceship
in the chair when he's getting?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I like that bit where he's trying to stop himself.
End of episode 3.
One of my favourite cliffhangers of all time. Epic, according to Lex Kane's TV and movie reviews. Hi, Alex. It's a new name. Don't think I've seen you before. Get in touch. Let's send us a link. Let's hear some of your views and your reviews. Old school cool, says Matthew Panda. I like that. Old school cool. I think it means the poster, not me. But everything. Fabulous, says Crimpling. The balloon. Wow. Love the tagline. Says Gary Akers. In times of war, the innocent die too. Is that a line from the episode? I don't know.
Not at all. It's all made up.
No, I can't quite remember. It might be, because I think I know that. I think I know that story line for line, and I think it is a line from the story.
Oh, somebody please tell us in the chat. My feeling was, because I thought I knew the storyline from line. That's why I thought it wasn't from the story. It is. Adrian Sherlock says yes, it is. Dan, you're right.
I love how he's given the bat the red eyes as well. I think that looks really fantastic.
It's
fabulous.
Good. It's a nice poster. It works very well.
Yeah, incredible
I love that
story.
Monster. I'm sorry they haven't done a good enough. They haven't bettered that monster. I think that monster's fantastic.
What, the Magma?
I'm sorry, I do.
Are you mad?
I miss it. But I miss it, Simon. I miss seeing monsters like that. Now
Blokes
they all
I agree.
staggering around, giving it all this. I miss it as well, pal.
Well, just sadly,
pantomime horse.
when you get the special edition from the current era, that they might have altered it. So
I've just noticed Dalek Lives Matter in the chat has just said, I finished watching it for the first time last night. Wow. Oh, I envy you, Dalek Lives Matter.
We are green with we're red with envy.
We are. And Adrian Sherlock is clarifying. Yeah, apparently it's just before the execution, the line in times of
I thought so.
Who says it? Is it Perry that says it, or
no? It's not. It's
Is it the Doctor?
Salatine says it to Perry, or General Chalice.
General says it because he goes, "I'm starting to believe you."
General Shellac.
Yeah.
Thank you, Adrian Sherlock. Well done. I'm glad we got somebody in the chat that could put us all right.
Fabulous stuff. I do miss the fact that there's no further episodes of classic Doctor Who left me to see that I haven't seen. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that, because Ian Levine's doing incredible work with the AI reconstructions.
Some of the black and white ones are still coming fresh.
It absolutely.
I've still got some Hartnells I've not seen.
Yeah.
Really, the joys of classic Doctor Who, which brings us to our final selection in the Pretty Pictures gallery. This one from, again, another artist we've featured several times, and we hadn't had a chance to mention this and him, but I very much wanted to sort of doff the cap, really. We've spoken about him several times throughout the lifespan of Type 40 and Type 40 Live, but Christopher Benjamin did pass away on the 10th of January 2025 at the age of 90. And Ian's Cartoons here has produced this fabulous tribute to this much admired English character actor, stage and telly, from the late 50s, pretty much through to the present day as well. He didn't really ever stop working. Of his 3 appearances in Doctor Who, I'd say he's arguably most recognisable as Henry Gordon Jago from 1977's The Talons of Weng Chiang. Simon, I'm not sure if that frustrated Christopher or not, but it's a lovely tribute.
I don't think it did, simply because he did so many Jago and Lightfoot audios for Big Finish. He wouldn't have done them. He wouldn't have done them if he wasn't sort of proud of that character. So no, I don't think it would have frustrated him at all. I think he would have embraced it.
The rosy cheeks are the nicest touch, I think. Matt, what do you think?
Oh, I think it's great. I love caricatures, and you can tell who that is straight off. So
exactly,
and
you can.
I would literally watch a cartoon with these characters. So, maybe that can happen with the Big Finish audios. They could.
Well, yeah, they're all out there, aren't they? It's and yeah, I can see Lex Kane's TV movie review says that you love him in Inferno. Yeah, he's great in Inferno.
Yeah,
it's
great again, soon.
He's great in everything. Yeah. So Keith Gold, Adrian, that's the one.
Sir Keith Gold. Stephen Braddock says, I absolutely love that cartoon. It's really done Christopher justice.
It's perfect, isn't it? He's just Oak Hawks. That's still one of my favourite lines from him in the television range. Oak Hawks. It's just brilliant.
And Fly Highland says, I was literally halfway through Talons in my watch-along of all of classic Doctor Who when Christopher Benjamin died. Still on it, just started episode 5, trying to extend it, trying to extend the lifespan of the classic series, because it's not that it doesn't stand up to repeated viewings. I'm still finding new things in it now, so perhaps I shouldn't moan too much. But there's nothing like the magic of seeing an episode for the first time, is there?
No. I envy people that still have classic Who to discover. I really do.
Well, I wouldn't have discovered Aztecs if you hadn't told me.
Well, there you go. You see, there you go.
And I love that story now.
Yeah, it's great.
Number one Hartnell story.
John
Genius.
Yeah.
It's
so that's
worth watching them all.
Ian's Cartoons, Oliver Arkenstall Jones, even, and Rafe Warbank. 3 artists we've featured several times. Go and find them on social media. Rafe is very active on X, showcasing his artwork, and Instagram. Same with Oliver. Oliver sells prints of those movie posters, and Ian's Cartoons is very active on X as well. So please go and say hello and tell them that Type 40 sent you. Please do. Yes, so that's the fan art. We just need more of it, really. They're big old walls. Huge TARDIS, more fan art, please. But yeah, I want to take this opportunity to offer our continued support and gratitude and genuine admiration to all of the fan artists we've ever featured in our gallery of pretty pictures through the life of this show. This segment in particular, it was born out of my own connection with illustration and design professionally. My origins, in many respects, were as a fan artist long before, Matt, I received any professional commission at all. And I feel that, again...
I still remember drawing TARDISes on my school ruler.
Yeah. So, exercise books, all that kind of thing. Yeah. It's very much part of the community, and a sense of community is integral to everything we've done with Type 40 since 2017 when the podcast was devised, and here on Type 40 Live as well. Whatever's to come next, that will continue one way or another. Type 40 Extra features lots of fan creators of different kinds, descriptions too, and artists. So look over to the playlist for those as well, for conversations with creators. And as always, if you're a fan artist or you know of a fan artist you think we'd like to see, to get behind, let us know through the usual places. That's our social medias, Instagram and X at Type 40 Doctor Who, or you can join the Type 40 Facebook group, longest standing component of the whole Type 40 thing. You know, we're still not getting any close to getting some the arguments, debates settled over there. But if we did, we'd probably have to close up shop, I suppose, Simon. You know, you run a Whoniverse Facebook group as well. If it wasn't for the arguments and the debates, you wouldn't have a group, would you?
I know, quite right. Bring it all on. That's what we like. That's what keeps them alive, is the discussions.
We've got a comment here. Thank you all at Type 40 Live for your fantastic 200th episode. A joy from start to finish. Here's to episode 504. Let's not go. No. We'll take
that
it
a long way away.
We'll take it
How
a
many
match
episodes of
at a
original
time.
Doctor Who are there?
That was Type 40 Live across YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X. 200 editions as your companion through, is it fair to say, some of the most divisive times in Doctor Who history? Here, it may be the world's longest running, best loved fantasy TV series, Doctor Who, but it can be the most controversial and its fan base the most argumentative. All of it's still here to stream from the playlists as well, I'm happy to say. God, we've covered a lot of ground this time, haven't we? So much. But we've covered a lot of ground across 200 editions of the show.
We have, and Dan,
Simon.
And Dan, you were very kind to nice comments earlier on about the diary. So I'm going to throw it straight back to you and say thank you to you, Dan, for being there. You know, we applaud you. You deserve all the accolades you get. So thank you to you. It's a pleasure to be here for all of us. I know it is. And thanks for all your efforts, which are far from inconsiderate. Well done, you.
Well, thank you. I've had a blast doing all of this.
You're the only one that's still balanced and that we can still argue with.
Quite right.
The arguing is what I know. It drives people mad. I can be so infuriatingly reasonable most of the time. People really don't like that.
People don't like it.
Yes, so all 200 editions are up on the playlist and the pilot one too, so you can go and hit those up and see the various hairstyles, fashion choices, places we've various
I don't know about you, I'm still
errors.
wearing the same shit I wore when I was
You're still in the same t-shirt, Ian.
Yeah, exactly.
And of course there's further editions of the podcast
I wore
to
a clean one
arrive.
today.
Oh, very nice. Further editions of the podcast arriving not just on video, but across all major podcatchers too: Audible, Spotify, Amazon Music, and everywhere else. What's the opposite, do you think, of being extracted? Installed? Can you get installed?
Yeah.
Installed.
Yeah. Well, you install. It depends on what we're talking about here, but you install a Pope.
I suppose you do.
Install a software.
I suppose you do. Great 200th episode, and may you have many more. Thank you very much to Matrix Lord. We have more from Tom from T Dwarf Productions. I'm doing a fan art of a pink cyber lady for Valentine's Day. Oh, you old romantic.
Bend it in, Tom.
Yeah, I like it. And lots more besides. Thank you, everyone from Lord Thoth. No, Lord Thoth, thank you very, very much. And the same to Vanessa Law, to Problem Being, and everybody else who holds the wrench. Type 40 Live. Davis messed it up. Oh, they're still opening fire on Russell T. Davis there in the live chat. I can't say I blame them. Ian. We're done. I think we've made our case pretty well. Let us know in the comments, obviously, about all the topics that we've covered on this marathon edition of the show. The General, he's not around anymore, or at least that one isn't. She may be around for all I know, but I don't listen to her anyway. I don't listen to women. Do you? So I think we're free to go wherever we need to next. Thank you to the panel. All of the panels on this season, in fact. Sarah, Shah, Anthony, Jack, Stephen, Scott, Gary, Adam, Chris, the other Adam, basically everybody. The list goes on. But that it's not on this season. He hasn't been on for ages.
I was talking about when we started,
Indeed, all those 200 years ago.
Yes. Yeah. I think he was talking about that. But yeah,
yes, the list goes on, never ended. Yes, Simon, thank you again for your company on this and all previous editions, my friend. But I know we've kept you up late. Lenny, I bet Lenny will be waking up in a moment.
No, Lenny's fast asleep by now. He'll be ready for his breakfast by now.
Matt, as our only real life time traveller, of course, it's already tomorrow for you where you are. So, how are things looking at the moment? What's any weather warnings?
Very sunny. I just went outside earlier, and it's a beautiful day, so I'm going to go out for a nice walk.
Good for you.
We've had a weather warning here. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah, we're
expecting 30-degree days. So
I'd like to ask you one question, Matt. One question, and one question only about the future. Is there any flying cars?
No, I'm always disappointed. I'm always waiting, and I want the self-driving cars too, so that I don't have to bother learning.
Very greedy. You may as well go for broke. If you're going to ask, you might as well have the whole thing, hadn't you? Yeah, I agree completely. Yeah, thanks, Matt. Good to have you back, Ian, as well. You're a recurring panelist now, but it's always great to welcome you back, particularly for these sort of standout shows, these landmark shows, and happier events. You've been very patient while we talked about Shooting Gatwa. Don't think I didn't notice, but but you're a valiant trooper nonetheless, and I'm really glad you could make this edition of the show. Thank you so much.
No worries, no worries.
John, you made it through as well, mate. I'm glad you're feeling better. What more can I say?
Thanks,
Great t-shirt.
Thank you. I'm still wheezing a bit, so I'll be off to the zero room soon. But great show. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. It's been a good show, guys. Thank you to everybody that's been on. It's been brilliant.
Special thanks again to the irreplaceable yet extremely modest Charlotte. We love you to bits, Charlotte. She's very much our queen,
defend
of
Charlotte
course.
to the hilt, I will.
She's integral. She's integral to guaranteeing that
of Type 40. She is the heart.
Yeah.
She puts up a lot of rubbish from us blokes.
Integral to the balance of the show. She's able to see stuff that I certainly can't. And the balance is what I think we need to maintain this mix of news, views, nostalgia, and silly banter.
Absolutely. Sarah as well. We mustn't forget Sarah.
Yeah,
I've mentioned Sarah. I've mentioned Sarah.
Yeah.
So that's
well,
that's
there's
Type
2
40.
hearts.
Yeah.
They're 2 hearts, quite right. Quite right.
Come on.
Okay, so that's Type 40 live dematerializing with a wink and a slap and a tickle off in various directions. Who knows where or in what shape by the time we make our way back to you. But we always have the time if you have the space, and always will at Type 40. That's been 8 seasons, 200 shows. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.